Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Quirkless Deku had hero quirk part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story Shimiyo from 𝐽3. So let's start the video. With about 80% of the population now possessing a quirk not long after they were discovered, the world became a superhuman society where there were 3 ways of life. Live as a civilian, a hero, or a villain. But what if you can't be a normal citizen? Being a hero is also out of the question, but you despise villains. Then living in the shadows is the only answer, taking justice into your own hands. Saving lives while also taking lives can be considered the work of a villain. That's why concealing your identity was necessary. You were able to keep a low profile until Hero HQ found out who you were as a vigilante and requested to meet up. Although Hero HQ administers all of the heroes in Japan, the president of the organization thought more heroes were needed since he was aware of All Might's condition. And when the symbol of peace finally went out, they had no way of knowing what bad things would happen. When he found out about you, he had an idea. Maybe you taking the lives of villains could assist them. Good day in. We heard of your achievements. Staining your own hands just to make the country safer. For someone like you to be free and out in the world, there will come a time that heroes will learn of your existence and stop you. But if you listen to our offer, maybe you won't have to fear being captured. You have a chance to accept or decline this offer. But I don't advise you to say no. We learned about you, and the day you fear might come faster than you expected if you refuse. Meet at the address indicated on said date. We hope to hear a good response. Anonymous. You read it calmly. Who gave this to you? You ask your info breaker. He responds by saying that he had a letter addressed to you on his desk, but has no idea how it ended up in his office. It's like the people who want to talk to you were professionals. They already know who I am, I suppose. You think while giving a nod to your info breaker before leaving his place. You have your hunches. It's not every day you receive such a mysterious letter. You were currently underground in what you could refer to as the black market. You could buy all sorts of illegal things in this area, but most importantly, you could buy information on almost anyone. For years, you lived down here and did your dirty work. People needed someone killed, and you did it for them. You got paid for the kills, but it was your choice whether to do the job or not. More often though, you would dispose of villains not to get paid, but to rid the people of Japan from that evil. You go back to your apartment, which you keep clean and organized so it would make it easier to move from place to place and not be found quickly. Won't have to fear being captured, huh? You lay down on your bed staring up at the ceiling. I don't approve of having a collar around my neck. But maybe this is the best option. I want to save lives and kill villains without restraints, because one day he will come back, and I need to stop him. If no hero will kill him, then I will. For someone like you whose existence came from the death of others. Being born just to be experimented on, to be the greatest villain alive. You refuse to have your life be planned. I want to pay for my sins, even if it takes my life. I will refuse my fate. I won't be like you. One for all. You told yourself before falling asleep. Weeks have passed, and the appointed date has come. You were waiting at the abandoned building that was indicated in the letter. 10 minutes have already passed. They were late. Is this a prank? You are about to leave when you sense someone coming. You place your right hand on your thigh where you hid some daggers in case an ambush was to happen. No need to be so tense. Sorry we're late, we had to discuss this matter with some authorities. The man walks up to you with his hands in the air, conveying that he doesn't mean any harm. Still, there's no way you're letting your guard down. The man in front of you, who is now standing 6 feet away, is wearing a black suit which feels familiar. After a few seconds, you remember where it's from. So they are from Hero HQ. And yes, he's not by himself. You can sense people behind him. What a surprise, a Hero HQ representative himself. Is this a trap to arrest me? You stop holding your dagger and instead start clapping, looking like you found the situation amusing. You may not trust us yet, but we came here to make a deal. He responds with no hesitation. He ain't lying, you think as you look into his eyes. You stop clapping and take a few steps forward. With your movements, the sound of guns raising and people shuffling takes place. But the man quickly signals his people to stand down. So what's the deal? You ask as you sit down at a table conveniently placed in the center of the room. This abandoned building looks like a meeting spot where people come to make illegal trades. At least someone in a field like yours would recognize it as one. What would you say if I hired you as a... Well, I wouldn't say hero since you have different principles, so something like an agent. He proposed while sitting down in the chair across the table from you. What he said caused you to raise an eyebrow. I didn't know that Hero HQ hired killers as their agents. You reply with a whimsical look on your face. Well, this is the first time. But we have heroes that we train to do work for us. So what's your answer? Without leaving any room to debate, he wants a response straight away. You haven't even told me what benefits I'd get from accepting this job. Do you really expect me to say, oh my God, what a privilege, I'll do it? You're too full of yourself. You smirk at him, but he remains expressionless, almost like he knows what your attitude is like. All right then, we guarantee your living expenses like a place to stay, food, clothes, you name it, and we'll provide. You'll also have our protection in case you get caught or in trouble. In return, we just need you to work for us. You'll keep doing the stuff you do, but we'll be the ones giving you information and sending you on missions now. So in other words, you want to put me under your control. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I have an unidentified quirk, and I'm running around free while killing villains. You'd have no idea when I could start targeting your heroes. Am I right? You lean forward on the table with a smug look on your face. I can tell they are scared of me, although he keeps acting tough. If that's how you interpret it, sure. So, what do you say? But then again, it makes sense for someone from Hero HQ not to show that fear in front of me. You have no interest in messing with him anymore, so you sit back and cross your arms over your chest. Since you're late, does that mean you discussed my first mission with an official? You are really observant. Yes, we already have the first mission for you. He answers, then looks behind him and signals someone to come over. For your first mission, we would like you to enroll in the 𝐬𝐬 Hero course to be undercover as one of the students. There was an intel saying there would be an attack in the near future. We need you to guard the aspiring heroes in case of an emergency. He answers, while the person he called for walks up behind him. It's a man with gloomy eyes and shoulder-length black hair. He looks so exhausted. He also has something around his neck like tapes. But then you catch a glimpse of his goggles underneath, and you immediately realize who he is. The pro hero Eraserhead. We dug up some pieces of information about you, and you're just the same age as the students. The job is perfect for you. So for the last time, what's your answer? You were about to respond when Eraserhead interrupts. I don't approve of having a child protect the students. It's the job of the pro heroes to do so. He said, looking straight into your eyes. You give him a taunting smile. This child you speak of has cleared up more villains than you could ever think of doing. Well, how about this? Pro heroes save the people, but then who saves them? Funny of him to call me a child, but not a villain or a killer. Eraserhead was about to retort, but before he could speak, the man in front of you put his hand up to stop him. There is one condition. You shouldn't kill unless it's necessary. You are under the protection of heroes, so you need to blend in with them. We can cover for some serious cases where you did kill, but you should think of your position from now on. You will be exposed as one of the UA students. You shouldn't take it so lightly. With what he said, Eraserhead didn't complain any further. So working for you does have a disadvantage. Well, it's not like I have a choice, looking at the situation. You glaze behind him and Eraserhead, where you can feel some people's presence on the other side of the wall. If I were to decline, there would be bloodshed, but in the end, I'd still end up in jail. You look from Eraserhead to the man. Well then, I accept your offer. You stand up and extend your hand out to the man. Good choice. He accepts your handshake, and you both seal the deal. Just as you were turning away, you turned back to say one last thing. I'm gonna be one hell of a student. Your school better be prepared. You claim before leaving them. 𝐬𝐬𝗠. Your school better be prepared. Is the last thing she said before she left. Now that she's gone, I look at HQ's representative to ask something. I'm guessing having her guard the students isn't really one of your goals. He just looks at me and smiles. Good and evil are on either side of the coin. Some people's coins are balanced on its side. You only need to find the chance for the good side to fall face up. And it's the job of the pro heroes to flip it. He said, then was about to walk away. I will send you information about her quirk, or rather quirks that we learned of. We will need to talk to her to gain more information. Having someone like her near the side of evil is alerting. Then he exited the building. This school year will be troublesome for me. I don't get paid enough for this. You knew they would place a leash on you when you accepted the deal, but you didn't know about this. So this is where I'll live now, you asked Eraserhead, and the little mouse which is supposed to be the principal. That's correct. You'll be living in on of the US dorm. It's not finished yet, but having one student to occupy the dorm is all right. The cheerful principal said, recalling his name, it's 𝐀𝐦, I think. And the hero wanted to give you this Eraserhead through, but of course I'm good at this catching game. A cell phone? I stared at him with a confused tone. Why would they give me this type? I didn't ask for anything yet. It's where your intels would be sended. They recommend you to buy another one for personal use, since that one is for missions. Then he suddenly threw another thing at me, and I catched it again, but it's irritating to keep catching stuff. Hey, give it properly. Then I looked at it. It's a wallet and my ID for you. You'll be using the card for your purchases, and the ID is to enter the school itself, since the intruder alert would go on if you don't have it. Don't be late for class tomorrow, he said, and left casually with the principal on his shoulders. I looked at the phone he gave, and there's already a message. Go check your dorm, we sent some documents about you, and we need a confirmation. There would be informations about your classmates. HQ. While reading the text, I was already going to my room since I don't have any furnitures, but I guess they already put all the essentials. Once I entered, it's only a normal dorm, but somehow luxury since the bed is bigger than the ones I slept in, and there's a fridge and a giant closet. I checked my bags and put away my daggers inside the closet, and the clothes I used. Then I looked at the study table where I saw the documents. FNLN personal informations, huh? I mumbled, then took the document and sat on the chair. Looking at the informations, they already know some of the persons I killed, and the reason behind it, even the payment I got. Then I saw the information about my quirk. In quirks, light, the ability to travel with the speed of light. She can also manipulate it as light balls or spears for a long-distance attacks. Limit unknown. Analyze, the ability to analyze the quirk of the opponent the moment she see how they use it. Blood manipulation, the ability to create a weapon with her blood, but losing too much will lead to fainting. They researched well, huh? All of the quirks I used for my job are already indicated. Thinking about what would happen if I decline this offer is something I can't imagine that will end well. They might surround me and make me surrender. Looking at the documents about me, it's obvious they don't know where I was before being a vigilante. I guess that's what they want to know, and the weaknesses of my quirks. And if that's the only quirks I have. I contacted them with the phone given and asked to meet up if they wanted answers, and they quickly replied. Talk to Eraserhead and Principal 𝐀𝐦. They'll input the informations for us, is what they said, so I went to the faculty to find them. Going to the school when coming from the dorm is like 5 minutes walk only, which is convenient. But I'm well aware it's just to watch my movements if I suddenly gone wild. I knocked at the faculty, then entered where I saw a lot of pro heroes like Midnight, Cementos, and there is Eraserhead compiling files. The heroes looked at me, but I guess they know my situation by now. Hey Eraserhead, I need to talk to you and the principal, I said, which made his head turn to my way, still looking tired. He just stand up and signaled me to follow him. We went to the office of 𝐀𝐦, where I explained myself like I have a choice. But I was surprised when I saw the number 1 hero, All Might, there. Ugh, is this a bad time? I said when I opened the door. No, it's the best time, if I must say. Sit down and let's talk about it. The HQ already informed us. Which is our cue to sit down. If you don't mind, All Might will be here since it's somehow related to you. Which made one of my eyebrows raised. Related to me? In what way? Like I have a choice, I said naturally. It's fine, youngin. Your secret is safe in you, All Might announced, and I just nodded. I didn't know how to open it up like some criminal I am. But suddenly Principal 𝐀𝐦 opened the topic. You might already know the informations the HQ and even the school needs, but I'll just ask it. We already discovered you have 3 quirks. The first question is, how did you receive a quirk when both your parents' quirks aren't even related to the ones you have? And there you have it, they asked the main topic. Since this is a mission, I would comply. First, I was quirkless when I was born, which even made Eraserhead, who has his eyes closed, suddenly open to listen more. Both my parents died already in an accident. I didn't explain much about their deaths, I just proceeded to the question. I was kidnapped when I was 6 after the death of my parents. They put me in some kind of lab where they tested some things to me. I didn't understood at first what is happening, but suddenly I realize. Then I looked at the principal straight in the eye. They were inputting quirks into my body, testing how much I could withstand or what quirks are able to adapt my body. With that said, it looked like All Might and the principal looked at each other. Then how did you learn how to use them? Principal Nezu asked. Every time a quirk has successfully implanted in me and looks stable, they will train me to use it. But they keep precautions since they wouldn't want me to use it against them. Before any question arise, I said it first. I was able to escape because of a malfunction, which I will explain later. But that sums up how I was able to acquire different quirks. All of them was in deep thinking before they raised a question. Where All Might suddenly asked a familiar name. Then do you know All for One? My eyes widened when I heard his name. They know him. But how? How do you know him? I asked. Let's just say he's a nemesis of mine that I must defeat. Then it was him who made you manifest these quirks? I just nodded to answer his question. I only saw him twice, but I'm sure that's what they called him. I looked at each of them and turned to the principal. If you're going to accept me as a student, then I'll explain one quirk you need to know. With that said, I explained my fourth quirk. Aizawa's 𝗵𝗃 I escorted into the dorm, and she just straight up went to her room. Remembering all that she said there, I knew it. This girl has too much weights that she bears alone. She refuses help from pro hero and take action for herself. I don't know if we can even make her open up. Being experimented by villains and giving her power, but kills the same villains that gave her strength. What could be the reason why she turned into a vigilante? I guess I'll just need to watch what will happen from now on. 𝐀𝐦 𝐍𝐴. After that interrogation, I went back to my room to check the details of my supposed to be classmates. I haven't checked it yet, and I think I need to know before going to class. I scanned their documents, just looking at their quirks and some additional information. Class 1 I thought when reading their informations. The ones that stand out the most are Midoriya Izuku, a kid who supposedly be quirkless, but suddenly obtained one which enhances his strength, but destroys his body. It seems like it's not made for him. Next is Todoroki Shoto, the son of number 2 hero 𝗵𝗃. Looking at his profile, it seems like he's going to be a fine hero. But he and 𝗵𝗃 doesn't seem to be in good terms. Daddy issues, huh? Last is Bakugo Katsuki, the kid related to a villain attack, which All Might has taken care of. He's strong to overpower the villain when he was about to be devoured. But as the information says, he has some anger issues which I can feel we might clash. After seeing all of their informations, I went back to bed and stared at the ceiling. Is this the right thing to do? I asked myself. I'm a killer, and to suddenly join a school which raises heroes. But this is a mission. Whatever happens, I just need to protect these students, even if it takes my life. First thing in the morning, and the damn alarm keeps making me wake up. I kept snoozing it, but I think I put too much alarms yesterday. Damn alarm, I'm sleepy, I don't care about you, you mumbled. I rolled on my bed and put a pillow on my head, trying to lessen the noise. The moment I was about to sleep again, you remembered something, and it made you open your eyes wide and looked at the time. Shit, today is the first day, what the hell? I ran towards the shower and took a quick bath. It was 7:52 and class starts at 8 o'clock. It takes 5 minutes to get to the school, so I rushed. I forgot that I didn't have notebooks yet or anything for school, so I just wore my uniform. ____. Then I suddenly realized when I was inside the school, why the hell am I in a hurry? I'm already late, might as well chill. This student mission thing is getting in my head. I searched for my class, and when I reached it, the first thing I noticed is how big the door is. Is there a student that big? Then without a care, I opened the door and entered casually. Approximately at 06 class 1 was listening to their homeroom teacher, who just went inside after making the students in front of the corridor zip their mouth. Suddenly the door opened again, showing a late student. This kid really has guts to be late, Aizawa thought when In suddenly showed up. He just looked at her while she didn't even care about being late. The students were watching In go inside the classroom without a care. Her HC long hair waved as she entered, while her red eyes didn't even bother looking at anyone in the room, even at her advisor. When you saw the empty seat behind you, just went there, and casually sitting like there's no problem at all. Almost all of your classmates were shocked how confident you were even though you're late, and you didn't even have a bag with you. They looked at Aizawa-sensei's reaction, but the advisor thought it would be only tiring to scold at you knowing your personality. So where was I? Aizawa said he just let her enter the classroom without saying anything. Her classmates thought, go outside the field, meet me there, and also where you pee. Then he just left. ___. Then out of nowhere, Eraserhead declared that there will be a quirk apprehension test. He made Bakugo throw a ball, and it went up to 700 plus km. But it was weird how he needed to shout die. Is he a hero or a villain? Either way, I wasn't interested to partake this, and was about to walk away when you heard your name in. Where do you think you're going? Seems like Aizawa's patience within is ending. You just looked back to answer, walking out. I don't need this. You hear complaints from your classmates, hey, don't be like that, this looks like fun anyway. The red hair said. I think that's Kirishima, that's right. We should do the test and have fun. The pink girl said, which is Mina if I remember correctly. Even if this mission is too troublesome for you, you still took it seriously by taking notes about your classmates' names, quirks, strengths, and weaknesses just in case. While looking at your classmates that complained about you leaving, you checked on your homeroom teacher's reaction. Then suddenly you saw Aizawa smirk. Fun, you say? Well, let's make it more fun. The last place will be expelled, he declared, and some were shocked. You can't expel us. It's just the first day, that's unfair. Unfair, you say? Aizawa said. In the world full of natural disasters and heroes and villains, we wouldn't know when disasters will happen. Being a hero, you must turn all situations around. He preached, but you wouldn't give a damn about this hero thing. There wouldn't be an attack on the first day of class. The less I interact with them, the less troublesome this will be, you thought. You were about to walk again when you sensed something coming for you. He's about to use his tapes and quirk, so you suddenly warped behind him. Without any clues where you went, Aizawa put his defenses up, but you pointed your left hand at the back of his head, mimicking a gun. You'll be dead by now if you're that slow, you whispered so that the students wouldn't hear you. Then suddenly he looked back and used his quirk on you. She's fast. She can even detect if I'm about to use my quirk. Slow reaction, but I'll give you a 90 for effort. You look at him with amusement like you're just playing around. You wouldn't know when will someone attack you from the back. Don't forget, I'm someone who hides from the light, unlike these kids here. You said, like declaring to him to not forget who you were. In my eyes, I see a kid with no proper guidance. The smile in your face disappeared, still going with your teacher words, how you thought. He then returned your quirk and puts eye drops since he gets dry eyes based on your analysis. Taking part of this quirk apprehension test is something a student needs to do, emphasizing the student part. Okay then, I had fun already, so might as well go with your silly tests. You said, and took the ball in Aizawa's hand. Your classmates were so shocked with all that's happening. Being expelled, then a student suddenly looks like she'll attack their homeroom teacher. What a weird class, they thought, having a student playing around, and not even scared of higher-ups. But Bakugo thought differ. She's too full of herself, does she think she's the stronger one here? You walked until you reached the place where you should throw the ball. You warped the ball with light, and just throwed casually. Looking back to see Aizawa's reaction, Aizawa just looked at the device which says infinity and walked away to partake the other tests. Bakugo was already staring at you, irritated at the fact that you moved too fast, even for him to see. First day of school, and you make a grand entrance. Aizawa thought. You finished all the tests, and when they showed the results you were in first place, next to Yamomo, then Todoroki and Bakugo. The last place was Midoriya. I was planning on making a low profile while on this mission, but I didn't thought that Aizawa will stop me from walking away. You thought, you don't like looking weak, that's why you didn't let yourself be captured by Aizawa's tapes. Watching Midoriya use his quirk, it looks like he definitely takes damage when using it. And by what happened earlier, it looks like Bakugo and Midoriya are childhood friends like your information said. But they were not friends at all. Without Aizawa, they might have fought here. But like I give a damn, it's normal to have school fights. Okay, it's done. The expelled part is a lie just to make you all take the test seriously. He smiled at them. It was creepy. All of them were so relieved, mostly Midoriya. Then they all went back to class and partake some lessons like a normal student. I was so bored in present Mike's English lessons that I took a nap. You there? He shouted in English, and I think he's referring to me. Then I just looked up to meet his eyes. Strong of you to not listen. Read page 3's paragraph to the class. I really didn't want to do it, but I still stood up. But I didn't have anything with me, so I looked at the person beside me, which is Todoroki. He also looked at me, and surprisingly he understood what I mean and lent me his book. I didn't thought he will act like this based on the datas. Maybe I need to observe them myself, you thought, then looked at the paragraph you needed to read. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed, sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand, I read aloud with fluent English. There were jobs where I need to talk to foreign people, which made me study English. Dumbstruck present Mike just looked at me, well done, then didn't bother me anymore. I gave back Todatoki's book and just nodded. I went back to my nap, and that's how my whole class ended. But when class was finished, I stretched and was about to leave when Bakugo blocked my way. I looked at him, but he looked furious. You think you're so great? I'll beat you and be number one, and you won't act like a top-notch after it. He declared in front of me. I was holding my laughter. Beat me in what? 𝐀𝐦, I think she's not really being competitive with 𝐬𝐬 Midoriya stood up for me, but he only received a death glare from Bakugo. I walked past him and tapped his shoulder. I don't plan being number one anyway. It's all yours, Spiky. I said and walked. I can still hear his complaints, but I don't have time for this. I was exiting the school since I was planning on buying stuff for school. I might dislike this, but I need to make an effort at some point. This is a mission after all. I can't base everything on the datas given. Observing them is part of my job as well. Then, while being stuck in my thoughts, suddenly someone tapped my shoulder, which was Midoriya with Iida and Uraraka. Hey, why, are you all right? With facing off Kaken like that? He asked, but with his tone and looks like he was scared. That's right, you were awesome, Uraraka commented. It's not appropriate to fight inside the campus, but it's good to see you stood up for yourself, Iida added. I looked at them and laughed, and confusion was written on their face. Well, it was funny since I do a lot of crazy stuff, so I wouldn't be scared of Spiky. Well, you could say I have seen something more frightening than facing off Spiky as Spiky. Midoriya asked. Well, yeah, his hair looks like spikes. Unknowingly, I talked to them till they reached the station, and I part ways to buy stuff in the near store. So that's how it feels to walk and chat with someone after class. It feels nice somehow. After buying the stuff I needed, somehow I feel much lighter than usual. Maybe talking once in a while is good after all. School went smooth so far. Having normal lessons during morning like you're a normal student. But you're in the hero course, that's why when afternoon came, the long-awaited lesson is about to start. And here I am, all of you looked at the door, then it suddenly opened. I am just entering the door like a normal person. Then All Might appeared. The class was overwhelmed by the presence of the one and only one hero. No way. So it's true, All Might is teaching in UA, Kirishima declared. He's wearing the Silver Age costume, Asui said. Even with all these commotion you stayed calmed. Well, you already saw All Might and actually talked with him. Then for our lesson in hero class, we'll start with this. Then he showed something in his hand. Battle training, All Might said. Battle training, huh? You looked at Bakugo, and how he's so worked up about this battle. And along with that, is these? Then the wall All Might pointed at suddenly showed some briefcases. The costumes according to your request and quirks. With that, all of them was so hyped about it. After changing into your costumes, meet me at ground beta, All Might said and left. Then you remembered, oh yeah, they made me think of a costume, so this is what it's for. You designed your costume as black and white leather. The black part shows somehow like in one piece, and the white part covers up the costume's legs and sleeves, which is fit on your body, making you show your curves. The design somehow shows your cleavage like Momo's costume, and the sides of your costume is made of black mesh, somehow see-through. Around your waist is like a belt-like storage to put your daggers. But you didn't bring one today since you only showed your light quirk. You only bring daggers to trigger your blood manipulation quirk. Your right arm is covered up by black long sleeve, while your left is only short sleeves to be able to slash your wrist if needed. You also have clear shades like Tamaki's, which you can change to black or red depending on your quirk. And you can just say she looks badass. You can think of your own costume, if you like, just don't forget about her shades and daggers. When you were finished changing, you step out of the changing room, seeing your other female classmates in their costumes. The moment they saw you, they were all staring, making think you have dirt on your face. Is something wrong? You said without thinking. No. It's just looks so sexy and badass in your costume. Uraraka said, looking a little flustered by the fact she was also staring at you. It totally suits you, Ribbit, Asui added. I feel relieved to see someone with somehow same features, Momo said. You didn't really get it at first, then you realized she was talking about how revealing your clothes were like her. Well, you could say it is more convenient for me to show more skin, you said without really explaining further. By the time everyone was finished changing, they went to ground beta to do the battle training. When all of them were in the ground beta, you observed each of them, while they were in their costumes, making you think they somehow look like a pro hero. Unlike you. Then what caught your eye is 𝗵𝘃𝐬. You knew his quirk is kinda destructive, but his costume clearly shouts how destructive he is. Totally like him. Unknowingly, you looked at his body, noticing how well fitted he is. He trained well, looking at those fine abs and muscles due to your stare. 𝗵𝘃𝐬 looked your way and gave you a deadly look like he always does. You just smiled and looked at 𝐴𝐻𝐷, who was already explaining the training session. I'll separate you all into villains and hero teams. The battle will be 2 versus 2. He explained, then Asui raised a question. Even without basic training, 𝗵𝗃𝗲? She asked while tilting her head. This is to learn about the basics. But now there are no robots, unlike the entrance exam, 𝐴𝐻𝐷 said. Then a lot of questions suddenly appeared. How does the system work to determine who win or lose? Can I blow it up? Will you expel just like Aizawa sensei? How will we be split? Doesn't this cape look good on me? 𝐴𝐻𝐷 was overwhelmed with all the questions. Then he took something in his pockets, which I observed well. What will he show? Then suddenly it's a cheat sheet. With that he read how the training will be done, explaining it very clear, as well as how we will be divided. Then suddenly 𝐻𝐷 raised his hand to ask a question. But sir, there are 21 students in our class. There would be one who will not partake. Due to his question, you suddenly remembered that you're an extra in this class, making it unbalanced. The one left out will have a different opponent. So let's have you all draw. We all took turns to draw. Then suddenly, when it was my turn, my ball didn't look the same as theirs. It only has an X. 𝐴𝐻𝐷 declared who will fight who and their sides, until I realized I was the only one who didn't have a partner. I was the one left out. Well then, with all that, you young in on the hero side, while you'll be facing me as a villain. 𝐴𝐻𝐷 declared, which made all of them look at me in shock. Well, even I was shocked about this, but I can finish it quickly if it goes my way. ~~~. We were watching the teams using the widescreen. The one fighting right now is Midoriya's team and 𝗵𝘃𝐬's. This pairing was so bad, knowing their relationship. By the looks of it, their emotions will get the best out of them, and it will be 𝗵𝘃𝐬 who will let his emotions get him. It was painful to look at their battle. At first Midoriya got 𝗵𝘃𝐬, but even with him looking like he's not at his right mind, somehow he still thinks between this battle. Another observation from 𝗵𝘃𝐬. The battle ended with Midoriya teams winning. But like Tokoyami said, it's like winning the war, but not the battle. Midoriya was so beat up, while 𝗵𝘃𝐬 just have minor injuries. While Midoriya was in the clinic to let recovery girl heal him up, we discussed about their battle tactics. Momo explained how irrational their moves were. How they used powerful attacks in a small space is not a hero or villain thing to do. I looked at 𝗵𝘃𝐬, who has his head looking down. He looked like irritated on how he still lose. The battle still proceed, and I was just observing them. This was the best time to see it for myself, what their strengths and weaknesses are, so I could cover it up if an attack were to happen. What caught my attention is Todoroki's way of winning the battle training. It's the best option to win, but somehow it shows how he's unwilling to cooperate, definitely a solo fighter as of now. Then the time has come for me to face 𝐴𝐻𝐷. I went to the building assigned, then when I heard the go sign I just walked. If I were 𝐴𝐻𝐷, he'll just stay and protect the room, so I thought, but suddenly I felt something coming straight at me. When I turned left I saw 𝐴𝐻𝐷, which made me step back. Youngin, I am a villain, and I won't let you off easily. Give your best, he declared before coming straight at me. He was fast, and he can already reach me when I warped behind him. I don't really want to fight the one hero in this training, but this is too fun to let go, I shouted. The moment he looked behind him to face me, he suddenly put his guard up. I collected light and manipulate it as an energy ball and throwed it straight at him. I sent endless balls until I stopped to see where he is. There were too many dust for me to see. But the moment I stopped, he appeared right in front of me. Is this the best you got, hero? He said and gave me a strong punch. I was able to receive it with my arms, but the impact made me flew straight to the wall. That hurts. Then I warped above him without any warnings to attack with my energy balls straight at him. I kept warping above, behind, in front, almost everywhere to throw my attacks without giving off my location. But the time I warped behind him, he was able to get my arm and threw me above, making me reach the 3rd floor. You seem to like to attack rather than doing defense. You should work on that, 𝐴𝐻𝐷 said. With the impact I reached 3rd floor and hit the ceiling. Even though it hurts, I warped myself to the floor, holding my right arm, which he grabbed. That's right, my mission is to retrieve the item, not to fight. I hate to say it, but I definitely have no chance winning against 𝐴𝐻𝐷. With just this battle, I learned that even if I were to betray UA and escape the deal, I wouldn't win against their pro heroes. I can land some attacks on them, but in the end, I would be captured. I need to think of the best way to win. Giving up now, youngin? He flew straight to the hole I made and was in front of me. I think it's time to end this battle before I take this seriously and reveal too much information, I declared before warping through rooms to find the item. Based on my analysis, All Might wasn't even trying hard to stop me. He just attacked me since I wanted a fight. Because of that, I was able to retrieve the item fast without interference. You could have done that in the first place, but you chose to fight me first, young-in. I was exiting the building, then saw All Might. Just testing if I could win with one quirk, I said, then left him. I need to train more. If I can't defeat All Might, how could I defeat him? Still lost in my thoughts, I went to Recovery Girl to heal up my minor injuries. Well, it hurts even though All Might was taking it easy. Lucky it's just some bruises, you're healed now. Unlike this one, he keeps destroying his body, Recovery Girl said, and pointing at Midoriya, who was still laying on the bed. I thanked Recovery Girl, then went back to the classroom to get my stuff. The moment I opened the door, they were already making a commotion. That's so cool, you faced off All Might, Kirishima said, who suddenly appeared in front of you. Though you could just finish it quickly, you still fought All Might. Impressive, Momo said, who was beside me. Others were still looking at me, and I didn't know how to react. This is the first time someone recognized my abilities in a good way. Well, I was cut off with a loud noise. Bakugo slammed his bag on the desk and looked at me. You weren't that good. Stop looking like you accomplished something big. This is only the starting line. I will surpass you, he said while going in front of me. That's right, I can't forget my mission. I haven't accomplished anything. I need to remember my priorities. The smile that was once on my face disappeared, and I looked at Bakugo. I will surpass you and be a greater hero than you, so that you won't look down on anyone. You didn't really get what he was saying, but you still replied. You can treat me as someone who isn't here. Like I said, I'm not planning on being the no. 1 inch, I said, and went to my desk to take my bag. He already left, but I felt like something was wrong with myself. Everyone was quiet due to that declaration Bakugo made, and while you were fixing your bag, suddenly Midoriya showed up in front of the door. They were praising Midoriya and stuff like nothing happened earlier. It feels like I'm really an extra. I really need to know my place. Then suddenly Midoriya runned off to talk to Bakugo. Even with everything that's happening, I was curious, why would Midoriya chase Bakugo down? With that, I said goodbye to everyone since they said it first and tried to follow Midoriya. They were already in front of the school and looks like they were arguing about something. To be honest, I received my quirk from someone. I haven't made it my own yet. What? Receive? How? With this, I listened to their conversation, still hiding behind the pillar. But they didn't discuss about Midoriya's quirk. How did that happen? He can't be from the lab like I went to, since I was the only one receiving quirks. So does that mean there is someone out there who can give quirks like one for all? This is my starting line. Your thoughts was interrupted by Bakugo declaring to Midoriya. Even with the brave act, he still feels inferior. Then maybe he wasn't that bad, I thought as I looked at him, almost tearing up. He was about to go when All Might suddenly appeared to comfort Bakugo. But it didn't end well. This is Bakugo we're talking about anyway. When he was out of sight, I left where I was hiding and went to follow Bakugo. And you're there? Midoriya was shocked to see me. That's right, he told Bakugo a secret. I guess I need to play dumb. I just got here, did anything happen? I smiled at him, and he just shook his head. I said my goodbyes to Midoriya, and All Might then followed Bakugo. Hoped I will reach him. ___. Bakugo's pav, that damn Deku telling nonsense. Is that to make me feel better, or is he telling the truth? I thought while wiping some of the tears left in my eyes. I will be aim higher than anyone, I declared while walking. You keep saying that. We already get it, so no need to be competitive. I looked behind where I saw In smiling at me. What the hell are you doing here? She was still smiling and went by my side to walk beside me. Hey, can't I go home? She asked, acting innocent. Is this her way too? I don't give a fuck, and don't walk beside me. I walked faster, but she keep up with my speed. So why do you want to be a hero? I looked at her when she asked that. Why the fuck do you care? I still kept walking, but she is also persistent. Hey, can't I ask? You keep telling me you'll beat me even though I don't have any plans on becoming a hero. With that, I suddenly turned to her, and I saw how she covered her mouth like she wasn't supposed to say it. What kind of dipshit would study in a hero course in a hero school, but doesn't want to be a hero? I didn't know, but I was curious about her suddenly because of this. Did I say that? I didn't said anything. So why do you want to be a hero? She denied and shifted the topic to me. So she doesn't want to let anyone know about that? What is her objective then? I thought while looking at her, but she still smiled. I want to be the number one. Isn't that enough for a reason? I said, then looked again to where I was going. I'll cheer on all of you. I hope I'll be there to see how great of a pro hero you'll be, she said in a low voice. I didn't really get why, but when I was about to ask, she stopped walking. I forgot this isn't my way home. Well, see you tomorrow, Spiky. Then she turned her back on me. Don't call me Spiky, I shouted and just waved her hand without even looking. For some reason, she's the only one I didn't really understand in class. She shows off how powerful she is, but then says she doesn't want to be a no. One, then she didn't really want to be a hero. To think I'll be curious of someone else. You're something else, I tell ya, I thought, and kept walking. I didn't really understand why I followed Bakugo yesterday. It's not really part of my job to interact with them, but for some reason I felt like I wanted to understand him. Maybe because I saw myself from him. I wanted someone to understand me. But I need to focus on what is important right now. Emotions would only cause trouble. I can interact, but only just because of the mission. Yes, only for the mission. I was suddenly cut off my own thought when I heard a lot of noise in front of the gate. I looked, then I saw a lot of people there. Is something wrong? Without thinking, I checked what was happening, then I regretted it. Hey you, can you tell us what All Might is as a teacher? There were a lot of media, and they were interested in knowing more about All Might being a teacher. I saw some of my classmates being dragged by the media. Then I saw Todoroki being dragged too. Hey, aren't you the no? Two heroes' son. How does it feel to have All Might teach you? He was just ignoring them, but suddenly a question made him look at them. Do you think with All Might's teaching you can learn more about him and be no one yourself and beat your father? The man asked, but it didn't look good. He's sensitive with these types of questions. Hey, Todoroki will be late. Without giving him a chance to reply to the man, I teleported beside him, which made his eyes wide. Well, I did suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Let's go, I said and pulled his hand. Hey you, are you dating? Does 𝗫𝐸 know about this? Will you be the next power hero couple? We were just ignoring them when suddenly they really tried stopping us to go inside the gate, and I had no choice but use my quirk. I used my quirk to teleport inside the gate. Well, of course, I'm bringing Todoroki as well. When we suddenly got inside, he looked at me in surprise. So you can even bring people when using your quirk? Now he's interested with my quirk. Well, yes, but it strains my quirk if I keep doing it since it's harder to teleport with people. I explained, and I remember I shouldn't be this talkative. What's happening? You're powerful, he said while we were walking. I looked at him shocked since I didn't know he can compliment or well say things like that. I am, but I guess if I were to choose I would want a weaker quirk. I answered like I was joking, but he just gave me a nod, so he's not a joker type. Then I stopped before going inside our classroom, which made him stop as well. What's wrong? He asked like there's nothing wrong. Well, I didn't want this to be awkward, but could you let go of my hand now? I asked while smiling. I thought he will let go when we were walking, but he didn't. With that, it looks like he just realized it now and his face turned red and let go of my hand. I am sorry, I didn't notice, he said. I chuckled by the way he said it. It's okay, let's go inside. By the time we went inside, I already heard about what they experienced when going to school. I can't believe there were so many reporters outside, Kaminari said. There was this cute reporter, but suddenly didn't ask me mine to said. But well, I guess it's his fault, right? They kept talking about it, and I just walked to my desk, and I passed by Bakugo, who was looking at me, and Todoroki. You're not late now, huh? Shocked by how he just talked to me casually, I smirked and stopped in front of his desk. Hey, are you interested about me now, Spiky? I teased him, but it made him mad. Who the fuck would be interested in you? And don't call me Spiky, he shouted, and I just laughed and seated behind him. Now sit down, class is starting, Aizawa said when he entered the class, and surprisingly everyone was quiet now. I watched the clips of your battle training. You all did well, but... He suddenly looked at Bakugo. Bakugo, stop acting immature. You got talent, he said. That made Bakugo look at the side. I got it. And well, Midoriya finished again with a busted arm, huh? Making Midoriya look down. I won't let you use not being able to control your quirk excuse forever. I hate repeating myself. If you fix that, you could do more. So work on it. Which made Midoriya look at Aizawa. Yes, I will. Then suddenly Aizawa looked at me. Lastly, you need to take your lessons seriously. And I just smiled at him, making him sigh. He looked at the whole class and began talking again. This may be sudden, but I want all of you. With just these words, I felt how tensed everyone was. Is it another special test? Elect a class president, Aizawa finished. A normal school activity. You can feel how relieved they were. Just by that, everyone suddenly wanted to be the president. I didn't dare to be one since it would only be tons of work, so I just kept quiet until someone is elected. A who voted for 𝐹𝐸𝐭 Deku, which woke me up from my nap. It was Bakugo who was once irritated. I looked at the board, and I saw that they already elected a president. Midoriya was chosen, then Momo as vice president. Homeroom finished just like that, and it was break time. You went to the cafeteria to eat, and when you were searching for a vacant seat, you saw Midoriya waved at you in. You can seat with us? I wasn't in the place to be choosy, you thought, then sat beside them. I don't usually see you eat in the cafeteria in. Where were you usually? Uraraka asked. Just wandering off. I have appetite today, that's why I went here. But to be honest, you were just in the field practicing. They just nodded and kept eating until I heard an interesting data. You came from a family of heroes, Ida? Uraraka asked in shock. They were talking about how Ida acted like a rich child, and it turns out he came from a family of heroes. It's not like I don't know it, you thought, but still listened. They kept talking about Ida's brother Ingenium, until they suddenly stopped due to an alarm. Security 3 has been broken. All students please evacuate. Suddenly all of the students starts panicking, and some ran off to evacuate. Nobody explained to me what this is, so I grabbed some senior's arm and asked, "Hey, you, what does Security 3 means?" "It means that someone broke through US security and are now inside campus," he said, and I let him go to run. "This doesn't sound good, we need to evacuate too," Ida said, and they all agreed and ran off. But Midoriya stopped when he noticed me not running. "In, we should go," he shouted, but I just smiled. "I can teleport. I'll check what's going on," I casually said, and made Midoriya panicked. Without letting him say anything, I teleported outside the school and checked. So is this a villain attack? I thought, but suddenly I saw the same media earlier. But the question is, how did they get in? I searched where they came from, and when I saw where, it made my eyes widen. How could a mere media destroy the gate? You saw how the gate was broken, like it was attacked. Then you felt a presence, like someone was looking at you with the intent to attack, so you looked behind, but saw nothing. Then you heard something from the broken gate. You are quick to react, hero. There you saw a guy with a lot of hands attached to him. Just seeing him made your defenses up and ready to attack, but suddenly a violet warp hole appeared behind him. "We'll meet in a formal way soon. Goodbye," he said, and disappeared along with the portal. What the hell is happening? You thought, and ran back inside the school to alert the teachers you didn't saw Eraserhead and the faculty, so you went back to your class. Luckily they were all safe, and there was Eraserhead already discussing something. Well, you were late since you were running around finding him. "I know I already told you this, but stop showing up late," he said when he saw you in front of the door. You just walked towards him, and when you were behind him, you told him what happened, which made his face twitch for a second and nodded. "Midoriya, take over here with Momo. We'll be out for a while," Aizawa said. Then we went to Principal Nezu to report it. Bakugo's POV. It's been a while now. Aizawa and In hasn't come back yet. What did In tell to Aizawa that made him rush? And why would he bring her along? I was thinking when the door suddenly opened, making me look that way. Did something happen? Deku was the one to greet her, but she just smiled. "It's nothing, just minor stuff about my grades," she answered and walked towards her table. When she was in front of me, I grabbed her wrist, making her stop. "Stop lying. Is it related to what happened earlier?" I asked, but I lowered my voice so that only her will hear it. Are you worried about me, Spiky? You overthink too much." She didn't give any hints, and was still smiling. I looked at her and let her wrist go. There's something about this that doesn't sit right to me, I thought. I remember when we were in the cafeteria, when the alert was announced, she just stood there even though Deku was asking her to come along to evacuate. "I'll check what's going on." Then she disappeared. So I'm sure what she said to Aizawa is related to what happened earlier. But the question is, why does she act like that? Is it just her personality to meddle with pro heroes' work? In POV, I need to be careful. 𝗵𝘃𝐬 is already curious about what's happening, is the first thing I thought ever since entering the room. Because of the attack yesterday, I already have my guards up since their safety is my top priority. Midoriya was in front of the class and was trembling while Momo was comforting him. I think Ida should be the president, he declared. Well, I heard that Ida was the one who stopped the panic yesterday brought by the alert. If it's him, I guess it's alright. Based on his personality, he does look like a class rep. Aizawa just accepted it and went out of his sleeping bag. So for our training today, All Might, me and another teacher would accompany you, he explained. I already knew what was happening since they told me, but Aizawa didn't really want me to help out. There's no need to be on alert. There are pro heroes during this mission. Just do your training like a normal student. So he says, guess he doesn't believe in me. What will we do? Kirishima raised his hand. Rescue training. Go outside, we'll be riding a bus since the venue is a little bit far, he explained and went outside. So when we were already inside. Ida was frustrated since he made us line up. But the bus wasn't designed the way he thought it would be. I sitted beside Todoroki, who was just staring outside. But suddenly, I heard an interesting conversation that made me listen. Your quirk looks like All Might, Sui said, that made Midoriya panic. If I were to analyze well, his quirk does looks like All Might, but in a painful way. But All Might doesn't get hurt when using it, Kirishima made a point, and they talked about their quirks. If you tell me 𝗵𝘃𝐬, Todoroki and In does have the strongest and showy quirks, Kirishima said, that made them look at us. I just smiled and looked in a different direction since it's awkward. But 𝗵𝘃𝐬 wouldn't be famous with his attitude since he's always angry, Mina said, that made 𝗵𝘃𝐬 look at her. Huh, you got a problem with me, Pinky, he said, and made the whole class laugh. Guess he's no matched. We arrived at the area where we met Pro Hero 13. He was discussing some regulations when I wandered my eyes to the place he calls us to. Just like my quirk, 𝐴𝐸 could definitely help someone but also kill if I wasn't careful. Quirks are useful if you used it in a good way. And that's why we're having this training to help you students to learn how to control your quirks during rescue missions. He explained that made everyone clapped. He's right. Quirks are like double-sided swords. It can save and take lives. I myself know it better than any students here. I looked at the place again, and suddenly, I saw a violet portal in the plaza which made me ready for battle. My classmates were shocked that I suddenly let my guards up. Eraserhead. I think we got company, I said, which made everyone look at the plaza. The portal was the same as the one I saw yesterday. Suddenly a lot of villains were showing up through it. Is the training starting? Kirishima asked, and was about to walk forward when Aizawa stopped him. This is not a training, those are villains, he declared, that made the students worried. Well, who wouldn't be scared? 13 take care of the students, Eraserhead said, and was about to go to battle when he saw me. In stay here and evacuate with them, he said, but I hesitated. Why would I? I can help you. I didn't finish what I was saying since he cutted me off. Then take care of the student. Then he left. I was irritated, but I have no choice but to lead the students to safety. They were already running towards the gate, and I followed, but suddenly a portal was opening up, blocking their way. Good day. We are the League of Villains, and we humbly let ourselves in through Ua High School, only for one goal. To have All Might, the symbol of peace, Deku's last breath. He explained. I was informed that All Might should be here too. Was there any changes in his schedule? He politely asked, but no one gave an answer. Well, I guess I need to do my part as well. I was running faster to counter what he was about to do, when suddenly 𝗵𝘃𝐬 and Kirishima attacked him. You don't think we'll be the one who destroys you first? Kirishima shouted with 𝗵𝘃𝐬 alongside him. There was a lot of dust due to their attack, but the proto guy was still there. Dangerous. Dangerous. That's right, even though you are still students. You are golden eggs, he declared, and suddenly his portal was widening to our sides. The reason I was here is to scatter you all and beat you to death. He said. I was about to take hold of someone to teleport them elsewhere, but I was too slow that I was already teleported to elsewhere. I was then suddenly in a building along with 𝗵𝘃𝐬 and Kirishima, and there were a lot of villains waiting for us. Damn it. I was too slow, I said, and put my guard up. Why the hell are you guys here? 𝗵𝘃𝐬 shouted. Well, we were randomly teleported, so I guess that's why, Kirishima answered, while making his hands harden. They were already attacking the villains, and I was teleporting to the villains' back, and gave them a kick. There are too many. Guessing if this is the level of the villains here, they are just mere extras. I need to get to the plaza. I thought since Bakugo and Kirishima can finish this without my protection. Hey guys, can you handle all of them for me? I asked while teleporting and beating the villains one by one. Huh, you think we can't? Bakugo answered with an irritating look. So you can finish this off, I'll go to the plaza to back up Eraserhead, I said, and then teleported to the plaza. Bakugo's pav. I'll go to the plaza to back up Eraserhead. Before I could complain, she was already gone. That shitty show-off leaving the extras to us, I shouted while attacking. Well, I guess she is the fastest one to help, Kirishima said. But for some reason I got a bad feeling about this, that's why I knocked down these bastards faster. Until they were all on the ground. That's it, now we can help the others, some of them can't attack. If it weren't for us, 13 should have just sucked him through his black hole. But we interfered. Let's go help them, Kirishima said, and I looked at him. Do it yourself. I'm going to kill that shitty warp gate. It's no time to act like a kid. Listen here. That warp gate is their entrance and exit. If I were to kill that fucker, then they won't escape. I explained, but suddenly a villain showed up behind. If you're gonna chit-chat like that, I could finish you off, he declared, but I just hold his head, then exploded it. If they are facing off underlings like these one, they should be fine, I explained, and was about to leave. I didn't know you were thinking like that. I thought you were like die. Kirishima copied me, huh? I'm always thinking straight, die. I said, and he laughed, there. But okay, I'll follow you, he said, and I let him be. Since the only concern I have is what is happening within the plaza. For some reason, I'm worried about that shitty show-off, that's why I walked faster. Don't get all the credits for yourself in. By the time I arrived at the plaza, there were a lot of villains lying down the floor. Looks like Eraserhead did them good, even though he's not really a frontliner hero, I thought while walking to find where Eraserhead is. But you shouldn't be concerned about me. The main villain is that. I heard someone then, when I looked where the voice came from, I saw Eraserhead, with the villains with a lot of hands attached to him. He was holding Eraserhead's elbow, and it was decaying, and there was a non-human in front of him. Without really thinking this through, I warped in front of Eraserhead, just receiving a shocked reaction from both of them, and I grabbed him and teleported a little far, but close enough to see the villains. What did I told you? You should have evacuated. Eraserhead glared at me, and I let go of him. Is that how you say thank you? Well, you're welcome. I smirked at him, and looked at the villains to see him scratching his neck. Aren't you the one who I saw in front of the gate yesterday? He asked while scratching his neck. Well, aren't you too interested about me? I smirked, and he stopped scratching. Eraserhead was already preparing to attack while holding his elbow that was crumbling. You shouldn't fight anymore, I said, but he just looked straight at the villain, so I didn't push it further. Well, I did warn you. Then I warped behind the villain and threw a light daggers at it. With our distance and my speed, I should have got him by that sneak attack, but suddenly the bird-like 𝐻𝐸𝐬 what it is was in front of me, shielding him. Like I said, I'm not the main course here. Why don't anyone listen to me? He said, but I was staring at the thing in front of me. He didn't take any damage from what I threw. Does it has a regeneration quirk? Eraserhead was on the move. Some underlings suddenly appeared, and he took them one by one. That's dangerous, get back, he shouted, making me look at his direction, but the villain already commanded the thing. Namu, get her already. The moment I looked at the Namu, he was already gonna throw me a punch. It was too fast for me to teleport, so I just let my arms guard me. That thing is as fast as All Might, I thought after receiving that blow. I was through back until I reached a wall. The impact was too much that I think my left arm kinda broke, and my body was dripping with blood. 𝐓𝐻𝐸𝐬 got me, I said while trying to stand up. By the time I look at what's happening, Eraserhead already downed the underlings and was facing the villains now. He was wrapping his tape around the Namu and used his quirk, but for some reason it didn't really affect him, and it was too fast for me to see. Eraserhead? When I was already standing, I saw him already down while the Namu was up and holding his head and banged it on the floor. And no, Aizawa-sensei, I shouted, I shouldn't be really using this quirk since I don't want anyone knowing I have multiple quirks, but by looking at my body's condition, I can manipulate my blood to attack. With that, I manipulated my blood at Sa giant spear and attacked it straight at the Namu's side, causing him to move back through the impact. I didn't stop there and created a lot of daggers so it would attack the Namu at everywhere, and it looks like it was effective. I teleported at Aizawa and carried him so I can teleport him somewhere far. I already told you not to fight, I said while putting him down. He wasn't responsive, but I leaned him towards the wall and ready myself to fight the 𝗚𝗚. Hey, you have another quirk. That's interesting, and you could damage the 𝗚𝗚. You're dangerous, he said while scratching his neck, and he commanded it again to attack me. I teleported near them so 𝐲𝐲 won't be in danger while I fight this thing. I manipulated the blood dripping through my body to become a katana, and also created daggers that are floating as my backup. The battle went on as I teleported in various directions of the 𝗚𝗚, trying to land an attack while avoid his attacks. It won't do me good if I were to receive that attack any further. It was starting to become troublesome since I can't damage him with just the daggers, and I can't get close enough to use the katana. It has become a battle of avoiding the opponent's attack. But I must say this thing is fast too. While we were fighting, the portal villain appeared behind the boss. Shigaraki Tamura, I'm sorry, but I let one student get out. He's about to call for backup. I listened while fighting off this 𝗚𝗚. If you weren't a portal, I would have killed you, Kurogiri, he said, and kept scratching his neck hard. It's game over. All of these extras are down, and we didn't face off. All Might and bunch of students are strong enough to hold them off, he stated, and still scratching his head. And this bitch suddenly came and can actually hold off the 𝗚𝗚. He kept talking like he was irritated about what is happening. I got a bad feeling about this. That's why I teleported far enough to catch my breath. Let's break this school's heart by killing one of its student. Then he looked at his side where I spotted Midoriya, Asui and Minato. My eyes widened and I teleported before he could reach them. I'm reaching my limit and my eyes are now too foggy. I can't even see much, and I can feel it's already bleeding. By the time I reached, I pushed Asui out of the way, and Shigaraki was already there holding my face. You're so cool, Eraserhead. My face didn't crumble. It's all thanks to Eraserhead, who is now conscious and erased his quirk. By that I hold into all of them and teleported beside Aizawa. You're bleeding too much and your eyes are turning white. Midoriya was worried about me, but I just put my palm on my eyes since the pain is too much. I teleported too long and transported a lot of people. Blood is what will attack them, you know. They didn't understood, but I manipulated my blood again as daggers and threw it to the enemies just to buy time. Why, you have 2 quirks, Ribbit? Asui was shocked about what's happening, and I just smiled. I wasn't planning on using it just yet, but this is an emergency. To protect the students, I teleported near the villains again, so I'll be the focus. I can hear them calling me, but I didn't look back. This is my mission, and I won't let them get harm. I kept distancing myself from this 𝗚𝗚, but I took a wrong step and my light quirk was already too much to use. You're too troublesome. I need to erase you right now, Shigaraki said, who was beside me, and I didn't realize it. He was about to reach me, and the 𝗚𝗚 in front of me was about to attack when he arrived. Don't worry. Why is that? Because I'm here. All Might made a grand entrance, making the villains stop. Took your damn time, no. 1tilde Midoriya's paw. Thank goodness All Might appeared. By the looks of it, wouldn't last long. I can't follow what was happening, but the next thing I saw was was already beside us, and the villain was holding his face. While retrieving your student you left a punch, he said, and looked at us. When you hero do these types of violence, it's alright, but when it is us, we get arrested. How unfair this world is. That's why I hate you, he said while scratching his neck. Your face just says you do this for fun, All Might said, and when I looked at him he wasn't smiling. Everyone get back and take Aizawa and Young into safety, All Might said, but I hesitated. What about you? But he only gave me a thumbs up, and he faced the villains. Asui, Minato, and I were holding Aizawa-sensei since didn't accepted the offer to help her. I can walk, is what she said, but she looks like something is bothering her. We were already going back to the gate, but she stopped walking and looked back at All Might. I have a bad feeling, she said, and I noticed how her eyes are returning to her normal color. There were a lot of dust, and we can't really see what's happening, but by the time it cleared up we were shocked. All Might was between the portal and the 𝗚𝗚 has holding his side. He is trapped. Without thinking, I ran towards them, and I stopped when the 𝗚𝗚's hand that pierced All Might was frozen. Todoroki, Kaken, and Kirishima arrived. ___ Todoroki froze the 𝗚𝗚 and gave All Might an opening to be released. I threw attacks at the 𝗚𝗚 so it wouldn't move while All Might is escaping. By the time he isn't between the portal, Bakugo caught Kurogiri and held the metal thing around its neck and put him on the ground. Move and I'll kill you, Bakugo said. I don't even know if you're a hero or a villain, dude. Kirishima was sweating. We got you surrounded. What are you going to do now? Todoroki asked the villains, which made Shigaraki scratch his neck more. What should I do? 6 versus 3 is too much. Heroes, he said, but then stopped scratching and looked at the Namu. Go get our exit. With that, I knew the Namu would attack, so I teleported beside Bakugo and blinded All Might for 2 seconds using my light quirk to delay him since I knew he will take the attack. Bakugo was shocked to see me, and I just pushed him and put daggers at the side of his clothes, making it faster to go to the other side. I can't teleport with Bakugo with me, that's why this is the only way I thought of. With all that I knew, I can't escape the Namu's attack, and I once again received a devastating blow. In! They shouted, but I can't move. I was leaning between the debris and I was bleeding hard. The Namu left a huge scratch on my leg when I tried to avoid his attack earlier, but still it reached me and threw me back. 𝐀𝐦 All Might appeared in front of me and helped me stand up. I just looked at him and gave him a weak smile. I told you. Who will save the pro heroes if they protect their students, all right? I said, and I decided to help once more before I could lose consciousness. While All Might was holding me so I can stand up, I decided to use my second quirk. ~~~~ Bakugo's pav, while being thrown back by her daggers. I just watched her trying to jump backwards, but still got attacked and flew straight to the wall. They were shouting her name, but she wasn't responding. I was already near Deku and half bastard, so I can't see if she's alright. All Might came near her and helped her stand up. She's still conscious, thank goodness, Deku said while feeling relieved. But suddenly we were all shocked about what happened next. 𝐀𝐦 was standing with the help of All Might, and she raised her right hand, and unexpectedly all the blood that she lost was now floating, and her eyes that was once fading colors are now pure red, and blood was dripping. With just that, she was able to create a giant spear that's surrounded by pure blood that are round, and some of her light quirk is attached to it. Just by moving her wrist, pointing it to the villains, all of those flew straight to them. The Namu was pierced by the spear and wasn't regenerating since it stuck at him, and the others flew through Shigaraki. But the portal teleported her attacks to elsewhere, but it came back, but the Namu shielded them. What was that? Kirishima asked. But even I didn't know, I just watched what was happening with my eyes wide. It looks like she can manipulate blood. She used it earlier, and I guess it's her second quirk. Deku explained, and I just gave him a death glare. This 𝐓𝐡𝐤 show-off was hiding this quirk. I thought and saw she suddenly lost consciousness, and All Might suddenly appeared in front of us, giving in to us. All of you get out of here and take 𝐀𝐦, All Might said, and I carried her. I don't want to have a favor from you. What about you? If we weren't here you would be dead, Isahat said, but All Might just smiled. Leave this to the pro. I'll show you what a real pro hero do. Also 𝐀𝐦 gave a blow to them. It's easier to fight them off, he said, and I looked at 𝐀𝐦 that I am now carrying with my arms. If you're going to take credits, you should have your eyes open, dumbass, I whispered, but she showed no signs of waking up. Why you should go, 𝐀𝐦 has lose too much blood, Deku ordered me, and I gave him a deadly glare. Ha! Are you ordering me around, Deku? I shouted, and no, it's just. I cutted him off and began going to the gate. I know, I'll ask for help now, shitty Deku, I said before leaving, and Kirishima followed me. 𝐀𝐦 is badly wounded. But she was so manly to fought those villains off. He looked at 𝐀𝐦 with worry, but was thrilled too. She should have told us, and not just ran off. We reached the gate and Round Face and Froggy was there. 𝐀𝐦? What happened? Round Face panicked and took 𝐀𝐦 to put her on the ground. She fucked up and became a bloody doll, I said calmly, but for some reason I was really worried. Why the hell would she help me? I can take a punch or two, I thought while looking at her. She is fucking weird to take the blow for me. Round Face called Tape Dude, which she called 𝐬𝐬, so she can give first aid. As they were helping her, a lot of pro heroes are now at here and helped All Might. Sorry we're late. I gathered all the pro heroes I can. Principal Mouse said, take the injured outside. There are ambulances there. We need to get them to the hospital. Aizawa, 13 and 𝐀𝐦 was taken, and I was just there staring at her. For someone who doesn't want to be a pro hero, you sure do a lot of crazy SHT. The first thing I saw when I woke up is a white ceiling, a dextrose on my wrist, a wrapped up leg and arm. I can feel pain in all parts of my body. I fucked up, I said, then noticed someone going inside. You sure did, 𝐓𝐡𝐤 show off. It was Bakugo in his uniform. He looked at me with deadly glared. Why are you here, and how long was I out? I smiled at him and tried to sit and look around to find a clock, but my body hurts. Don't move an inch. He told me, and I was shocked how he slightly pushed me, so I will stay on the bed. You were just unconscious for 5 hours. It's already night, he explained as he sat beside me. Hey, it's already late. Why is he here and still wearing his uniform? Did he wait for me to wake up? I smiled at him, and I noticed how irritated he is with my smile, but suddenly I remembered something. Wait, what about the teachers? And are there students that were wounded? I asked, and he just stared at me for seconds before answering. The teachers are alive and only shitty Deku injured his arm. As I sighed and relieved, he narrowed his eyes. For someone who knows she fucked up, you have guts to ask about others when you're in this state. He scolded me while still staring like I did something wrong. This is nothing, and I smiled at him, but he still stared at me. Silence filled the room for a while before Bakugo broke it again. For your information, I didn't need help that time, he said while avoiding my eyes. I can receive a punch or two. You didn't needed to push me off there. While he continued, you remembered that you did save him, but technically you're just doing your job. That? It's fine, I'm bound to face danger anyway. But because of that, he looked at you, and you can't even explain how his face looks like. Anger? Worry? What do you mean by that? Now he's staring at me, but I didn't answer and just stared at the ceiling. Also, why did you hide the fact you have a second quirk like 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐻? You saw this coming since you just showcased your quirk in front of them, but still it's hard to explain. Well, I didn't actually hide it, staring at him with a smile on your face. I just didn't see any opening to use such a quirk in school, and nobody asked anyway, I casually said, but he still looked at me with doubt. Using that quirk will shock everyone, so stop looking at me like that, you added, and he just sighed. No need to get worked up, he said, and you gave him a smile, but he suddenly got irritated again. Stop smiling, dumbass. It totally looks fake anyway. Just like blades, he pierced you with those words. I didn't thought anyone would bother noticing small details about me, you thought, until your smile faded. This is none of your business, you said in a cold tone that made Bakugo focus more on you. Like I said, I don't plan on getting in your way and being no one, so mine don't get in my way too. You stared at him, showing no emotions. This damn mission would be troublesome if I interact with them. Getting attached is not a good thing. But Bakugo still keeps up with this conversation. What are you planning? He said like I was some sort of threat that made me chuckled. When was the last time I heard something like that? And why does it slightly hurts how he questions me? I'm on your side. As of now. No need to pay attention to little 𝐀𝐦. Just do your best in becoming a hero, I said with a smirk. Then he was about to say something when the door opened. Aizawa, covered with tons of bandage, came in and interrupted us. It's late now, Bakugo. Go home, I need to speak within. He said that made Bakugo's eyebrows twitch. I guess he has more questions than I thought. Good thing Aizawa showed up. I waved bye to Bakugo, putting up my smile again, until he closed the door, leaving me and Aizawa alone. Hey, how are you doing, Aizawa? Should you be up right now with that condition? I acted very worried, and I saw his disgusted face. Stop with that act. I'm here to scold you. You shouldn't have appeared during that battle. You're being careless again, he said while looking at my injuries. At that instance, I knew he wasn't acting. He did become worried about me. Because of that, I gave him a weak smile. This is my way of living. No need to worry about me. This is only a fraction of what I usually do. Before I accepted this, he just stared at me like he's analyzing my words and actions. Suddenly, I felt his hand on top of my head. No need to conceal what you feel in front of me. I know this is not the life you wanted. Shocked by his words, I stared at him, still feeling the warmth of his hand on top of my hand. It's been a while. I already forgotten how it feels to be cared for, I thought while fighting my tears. For someone young, you do act too much of a grown-up. You can act your age. Nobody would hurt you for being that way. I was only looking below while he kept talking. It's not too late. You can still change and choose something you really wished for. I can see how you look at your classmates. You can also follow their path. With those words, I suddenly snapped out of it. Follow their paths too. If they knew what I really am, I doubt they'll accept someone like me. This damn teacher trying to get through me. I pushed his hand away and looked at him. Your kind words won't change the past. This is what I chose, and I can't just suddenly change paths. I don't know why, but I was getting worked up with just those little affection. I'm not like the others, and I can't be like them. I've already been stained unlike them, so stop. I don't need petty emotions that will only hurt me. Stop messing with me, making me think like I can be a normal kid that can dream. Don't give me false hopes, sensei. I sounded like I was about to break out. He just stared at me and sighed. If you need any guidance, don't hesitate to talk to me. he said before leaving, like he wasn't trying to push the topic any further. By the time he left, tears were already visible. I have no choice. So please stop making this decision much harder than it already is. I whispered, letting my tears fall until I can't cry anymore. 𝗧𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏. For some reason, I had the urge to listen to them. But it only made me question about her more. What are they talking about? What path is she stating? But it was clear that she really wasn't here to be a hero like us. I kept listening, and Aizawa was giving her advices until she got angry, like she doesn't want to accept any emotions. I don't really understand what is happening, but she is truly hiding something from us. But for some reason I wanted to help her. She sounds like she's in pain, but doesn't want anyone's help, I thought. I really don't know how to help her, since maybe meddling with her will just worsen it. But I feel like I want her business to be my business. Ah, damn it, why the fuck am I thinking like this? I sighed while holding my hair until I was shocked that the door opened and Aizawa was exiting the room. He looked beside the door and saw me standing there, and I saw how he narrowed his eyes. Didn't I tell you to go home? He was clearly angry, but I don't give a fuck. I'm going already, I shouted while turning my back on him and started going home. I'll just see what will happen from now on. 𝗧𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏. I was discharged already last night, and now I'm getting ready to go to class. It might be too early for me, but if something happens again, I need to be there. Looking at the mirror, I saw how these bandages looks too exaggerated. I still have my right thigh bandaged and my left arm. My eyes recovered its color, but somehow it's not as red as it usually is. I sighed, but I need to get going. By the time I reached the classroom, I saw how shocked they were to see me. Should you be coming to class right now? Uraraka looked so worried. I think you should still rest. They would accept your excuse of being absent, Ida added. You were badly injured yesterday, Ribbit. You need to rest more, Asui said. Whoa, look at those bandages. Should you be moving right now? Kaminari said, while pointing at my bandages. This reminded of me about Aizawa's talk yesterday that made me irritated. They stopped talking when they saw my expression. Don't mind me, just mind your fucking business, I said in a cold tone. I didn't really feel like acting kind like usually. They were shocked on how I talked to them. Well, sure, they know you're kinda like Bakugo, but there were times you actually smiled and felt easy to talk with. They thought maybe something happened and left you be, but they were still worried about you. By the time you reach your desk, you heard Bakugo talk. So you're not faking right now, shitty show off, he said while looking at you. But you didn't answer and just sat down. I don't need any more distractions. Then they were talking about Aizawa. Worried when will he show up after being injured too. I hope Aizawa can attend homeroom soon, Ribbit, Isui said. And like a cue, the door opened and showed a fully bandaged Aizawa. This is way too soon, they all thought. Hey Aizawa-sensei, are you alright now? Uraraka asked. Does that look alright to you? Kirishima answered. Recovery girl was just too exaggerated with all these bandages, he said until he reached the podium. So then don't let your guards down. With that, I listened well to what he was about to say. Will there be another attack? I thought, but then he finished what he was about to say. UA Sports Festival is now around the corner, he declared, and some were so excited with all that's happening, and I just sighed. I thought it was something important. But should we really be proceeding with this event, even though there was an attack? Momo raised her concern that made the others quiet. UA wanted to show that we aren't affected by the recent attack. It's a way to say that the students are safe. Plus, this is a long-awaited event. We can't cancel it just because of a villain attack, Aizawa thought, but he was right. For US Image, we need to proceed with this event. With all these commotions, suddenly Aizawa looked at me. Will not be participating. Because of that, all of them were looking at me. I can guess why they wouldn't let me participate. I can't let my face and quirk be seen in the media. It will only expose my location to One for All, and we still don't know if he is still planning on using me. She is not fitted to participate, and she already have an agency where she will intern in, Aizawa explained. But still my classmates were feeling bad for me not to participate. Damn it, I can't challenge you, Bakugo said. I agree, I wanted to see more of your quirks, Todoroki added. But Katsuki looked at him. Huh? Why are you agreeing with me, damn it? Be quiet, Aizawa said, activating his quirk. Then everyone was quiet again. When homeroom ended, Aizawa was about to leave the class, but he called for me. Follow me, Principal Nezu wants to talk to you, making me stand and follow him, leaving my classmates confused. Why is she being called? Is she in trouble? I heard, but I left the room already. While we were walking, there was only silence surrounding us. It was kinda awkward since I got angry yesterday. We already reached the office, and I knocked before entering. "I'm here, what do you want?" I asked since I want this to be done. Sorry for the sudden call, but I wanted to discuss a few things," he said and signaled us to sit down. "I guess you already know that you won't be participating the sports festival, right?" "Well, we thought it would be for the best. Exposing yourself is too risky." I knew it, but I listened more. "Hero HQ informed us first that they will be needing you for their upcoming mission." This is something I didn't know. They weren't sending me any missions through that phone they gave. There was a point that I thought that was just a display or something. "You'll be assisting the No. 3 Hero Hawks. They didn't give us too much information, since it was a top secret mission." He added, "from going undercover to assisting a pro hero. This Hero HQ really knows how to use their pawns well, dragging me too much trouble. We can't really refuse their orders since you technically work for them. But if you don't want to, I could. No need. If this is an order, then I will do it. Don't treat me like a child." I cut him off. Before they could say anything else, I stood up and started walking towards the door. "If that's all, then excuse me," I said and exited the room. _____ Aizawa's POV. "She still didn't change for the past few days," Principal Nezu said. "She is really shutting us adults down. No, it's like everyone around her. I thought I could help her open up yesterday, but it didn't end well. That child doesn't want to be treated like a child, huh? What should we do, Aizawa?" Principal Nezu was starting to ask me. "I'll just observe for now. It doesn't look like this is the right time to talk to her." He just nodded with my answer. "But what bothers me is that why do they need to let her join a top mission with the No. 3? Guess I can't do anything, or else she will just shut us down. I hope that kid would open up to anyone someday." I kept walking towards the cafeteria since it's already break time. Still, I can't believe they're assigning me to a mission with No. 3. Why would they need someone like me? I lined up and Uraraka and Ida were in front of me. "Are you all right?" Uraraka asked when she saw me. "Principal Nezu just wanted to ask about my condition," I said and smiled at her. "I need to keep calm." Well, maybe learning that I'll have another mission beside this kinda lighten up my mood. It was clear that Uraraka was happy that I smiled at her. Maybe being harsh earlier was too much. I looked around and noticed someone was missing. "Where is Midoriya?" All Might called for him, asking if he wanted to have lunch with him, Ida explained. It was surprising to see No. 1 hero holding a bento. But I guess he's curious about Midoriya since they have almost the same quirk. Uraraka said. "Well, this is a surprise indeed. I didn't know they were close, something must be up." Then I noticed Todoroki, who's in front of the line, looking at us, or like listening to our conversation. I waved at him, and it made him flinch and look in front again. The class ended well, and I was already inside my dorm when my phone vibrated. It must be about the mission. Without hesitation, I stood up and took my phone and read the message. "I already informed Yue about your mission, and you will be excused tomorrow since we'll be discussing more details about it. Come to the headquarters on the stated time, Hero HQ. Are they now neglecting my first mission? We could talk on weekdays, but they still chose for me to be absent. I can't really understand them." Then I stood up and looked at the mirror. I removed my bandages on my arm. As I removed them, there were no injuries anymore or even scars. I also removed the bandages on my thigh as I sat down on the floor. One of the quirks that wasn't written was my regeneration quirk, but I could say this is a defect, and also I already told them all about these quirks. So my regeneration quirk takes too long for to activate, and it's unpredictable. It can completely heal me in an instant, but also can heal very slow. The only permanent effect is that it heals my scars until there's no traces left. Being experimented didn't really give me quirks that I can freely use. There were times that it was totally incompatible with my body, and I almost died, but One for All took it before my life ended. Quirks like my regeneration is one that wouldn't be noticed, just like my analyzed. My memories are kinda hazy since I didn't felt like I was living that time. I can't use my body for my own, and I just let them freely use it until that day. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be out right now. But I wouldn't want to see that again. _____. Yo, Chibai-chan, are you the one who'll be partnered with me? The moment I stepped in the headquarters, I already encountered with the No. 3 Hero Hawks. I didn't reply and just kept walking to go to the appointed room. He just followed me. Not a talker, eh? But we'll change that when you're with me. He just keeps talking until we reach the room. The man that I talked to before was also the one that will discuss the details of our mission. You already met, huh? That will make things easier. "Now you may take your sit," he said, and 𝐻𝐸𝐬 sitted beside me. "We did, but she doesn't talk. Is she mute or something? I can notice how carefree this hero is, but I didn't pay attention to him." "She does talk if it's necessary. Now let's talk about your mission." Then something suddenly been projected. "Are those gnomes?" I asked, and 𝐻𝐸𝐬 looked at me. "So you do speak?" I didn't answer him, and the man just nodded at me. "Yes, the one you encountered during the 𝐬𝐡𝐤 incident. We tried communicating with it, but it doesn't seem like it's conscious. We examined his DNA, and this is what we found out." Then he projected various people. "This is the actual man, but when we tested his DNA, there was a lot who matched. It's like they injected different quirks in his body." With that, my eyes widened, and my hands slightly trembled. "This thing I fought was something like me," I thought while looking at them. "I think you now understand why you're part of this mission." I just nodded, and he gave us some documents. "𝐻𝐸𝐬 already knows details about you, no need to hide from him," he said, and 𝐻𝐸𝐬 smirked at me. "So Hero HQ can spread information about me now, huh? You're invading my privacy. It was needed since you'll be in this case together." I didn't like how they just gave details about me without my permission, but it's not like I have a choice. "No need to be cautious, 𝐀𝐦. Your secret is safe with me," he smirked at me. "Guess this is how people feel when I make fun of them, huh?" I scan the documents while the representative of Hero HQ keeps talking. "There is a chance that the League of Villains and All for One are connected. Since 𝐸𝐤 is familiar with the underground transaction, you will aid 𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐬 by infiltrating villains until you hunt down the League." Easy said than done. Info breakers don't spread informations about their clients. This won't be ending with just tea and talk. That's why 𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐬's with you. He is trained enough to do more than talks. I looked at 𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐬, who was just smiling at me. Guess he isn't the no. 3 hero for nothing. "You sure that you want to be associated with a case like this?" I smirked at him. "Heroes aren't supposed to do dirty works like this," but he didn't falter with my words. "𝐀𝐦, you wouldn't believe if I started talking about my past missions." With that, I knew he wasn't like the other heroes. "So heroes can still do missions like this, huh? So what is our difference then?" The discussion went on until it almost 12 noon. We finished, then I exited the room, but 𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐬 was still following me. "So how does it feel to be a student in UA?" I don't know why he kept on engaging with me. "This has nothing to do with our joint mission." I kept walking, but he still didn't stay quiet. "Hey, you're no fun in. So where are you going now?" "Still gonna catch up with class." Looking at my appearance, I was already wearing my uniform since I am planning on going to school. "Yes, I will. I need to stay with them to avoid sudden attacks." I already exited the building, then I stopped walking. "Contact me if it's important." "Well then, see you around." I didn't give him a chance to speak, and I just teleported in front of UA. I started walking and checked the time. It's already hero lessons. Without knocking, I entered the room, and all of them were looking at me, and 𝐬𝐬𝐬 and All Might were there in front. "It took you long enough," 𝐬𝐬𝐬 said, while I was walking towards my desk. "How was your meeting with the hero you'll intern with?" Kirishima asked. "So that's what they said." "Well, you could say it's an intern. Just the basic stuff, no need to go on the details." I smiled, and I heard 𝐬𝐬𝐬 coughed, gaining our attention. "Well then, with all of you here, we'll be heading to Gym Gamma. Giving Yo the free time to practice for the upcoming sports festival." They all were hyped about it, and I just sat there lost in thoughts. Where should we go first? I can check on my info breaker before talking to others. He might know some details about this. While thinking, suddenly somebody shaked my desk, and I looked at him. "You better get going if you don't want to be late again, shitty nightlight." Nightlight? Is that another insult he thought of? "You're worried about me, 𝐀𝐦." I emphasized the last word, making him furious again. "Who would be worried about you? And don't call me 𝐀𝐦." I laughed and patted his head before going out. They were all busy practicing with their quirks, and I was just there standing beside 𝐬𝐬𝐬. "I don't feel like practicing since I'm not participating in the event." "Aren't you going to practice, youngin?" All Might asked. They all knew I wasn't going to participate. It's not like I'm obligated to do this practice. I can use my quirk the way I want it to be. I don't need to practice, I said without even looking at him. I was busy in observing my classmates' training. "I highly suggest you join. That is, if you don't want what happened in 𝐬𝐡𝐤 to happen again." 𝐬𝐬𝐬 said. I looked at him and narrowed my eyes. All of us has our own limits, but he was right. I need to exceed the limits I have. But I don't feel like doing work today. "Don't worry about me. If you like this training so much, you could fill in my spot, sensei." I smiled at him and went back on observing them. I kept thinking about this upcoming mission. It's not gonna be easy infiltrating random villain places. This task of gaining information is risky, but it's no different with my usual job. I'm gonna exceed my limits anyway with my missio. Might as well rest for no days just passed by. And they were peaceful as they used to like the attack on 𝐬𝐬 didn't happen. But I noticed how the attack have influenced Class 1A. They were more confident and was eager to practice hard because of it. And I wasn't an exemption. Hawks and I were able to infiltrate 2 villain bases, but they weren't related to the villain league. This work is too much since we really don't have a lead, and because of it we kept trying and just kept catching small-time villains. We already finished our second base when I noticed it was already 7 a.m. in the morning when we reported to the hero HQ. "Hey Chibai-chan, aren't you gonna be late for class? You're still in your costume," Hawks said after our report. "He's right, I need to go or else I would be late. Tomorrow would be the sports festival, but I don't think I would be able to watch the whole thing since we just got an intel just now that the League of Villains were finding members. We already got the address of a said group planning to join. Might as well question them." "I will go back to my dorm now," I said, but Hawks held my wrist when I was about to teleport, and I had no choice but bring him to where I was about to go or else he might lose a hand. I teleported inside my room and Hawks was with me. So this is where you're staying," he casually said and looked around. "Hey Birdbrain, you shouldn't be grabbing me. Aren't you worried you'll lose a hand if I didn't teleported you properly?" I shouted, but he was still looking around like he owns the place. "Why would I be worried? You're my partner now and I trust you," he said without even looking at me. "Brave of you to trust a killer," I said while taking my uniform from the closet. Then he looked at me. "We're just the same, and I know you didn't want it to be one." I stopped and looked at him. He smiled at me, but there was a hint of sadness. I researched about him too. Well, I asked for documents from the hero HQ, since it's only fair for me to know him. They gave me documents about him, and I found out he really is the one doing the dirty works of this organization. He was trained ever since to do stuff like that. I could say we are the same, but I couldn't still see myself as someone that can be called a hero. "Get out of here already, I'm about to take a shower before going to school," I said and walked towards the bathroom, but he just sitted there and watched television. "Wow, you even have a television in your dorm. Don't worry, I'll just watch here." He acted like I didn't just told him to get out. I sighed and took a shower and changed my clothes inside the bathroom. When I got out he was still there and really is watching. He looked at me and stand up. "Are you sure you're gonna go with all those injuries?" He pointed at my left wrist, which I sliced to activate my quirk. There was scratches on my neck and a large slash on my right shoulder due to the explosion earlier. My regeneration quirk isn't working as usual, so I took my first aid inside my drawer and started wrapping my wounds. Suddenly Hawks helped me. "For a high school kid you sure get in danger way too much," he said. "Tell that to yourself, old man." I told him and he acted hurted. "Ouch, I'm only 22 inches, he said, and then finished wrapping the bandages. I only looked at him. I don't really understand why they are so worried about me. Is it out of pity? "I'm about to go to class," I said and started walking, and he just followed me. I locked my room and started going to the school. "Are you seriously following me?" I stared at him, who was still trailing me. "Do you want me to?" He joked, but I just gave him a deadly glare and he laughed. "Don't look at me like that. I have a business with Principal Nezu, actually, so we're in the same direction." That explained a lot. He was damn lazy to use his wings and just grabbed on me like I was some vehicle. I was already in front of my class door, and he still was with me, and suddenly he opened the door for me, making all my classmates look at me. "Have fun in class, Chibai-chan," he said while I entered the room, and I just looked at him and signaled him "you're dead" with my thumb on my neck, and he just laughed and left. When I looked at my classmates they were shocked. Isn't that the No. 3 hero Hawks? Kirishima was the first one to recover, and a lot were starting to ask questions. "I didn't know you two were close," Gyro said, who was suddenly beside me. "So that is Hawks." I was interested about him since we are kinda alike. Even Takoyami, who weren't that talkative, started adding comments. Hawks? He's the youngest hero who suddenly became No. 3. Midoriya said. "I guess it turned his fanboy mode on. Are you two dating?" Mina then asked, making me widen my eyes. "What are you talking about?" "Geez, we just saw each other in the way and started chatting." "It's no big deal," I started explaining. "I couldn't tell them he's my partner in capturing villains or something." Mina started looking at me like I was lying, and even the others. Good thing the door opened and Aizawa showed up. "Get back to your seats. Class will start," he said, and all of us were already seating. I sighed in relief that I barely escaped that interrogation. That damn Hawks making a scene, I thought, and I noticed someone was looking at me, and I saw Todoroki who was staring, but then stopped when I noticed him. I shrugged and looked in front, then I noticed Bakugo staring. "What?" I whispered, but he just snarled and looked at Aizawa. What the hell is his problem? "So tomorrow is the start of the sports festival. I assume you're all ready." With that, all of them shouted, showing how ready they were. "I'm also ready for tomorrow. I hope it's just a low-case villain since I want to finish it as fast as I could and watch the class performance." It was already lunchtime, and I was eating lunch with Midoriya, Uraraka, Ida, and Todoroki. I didn't know why, but suddenly Todoroki interacted with this group. But I don't mind since I get to observe them well, except for Bakugo. He is seated next to Kirishima's group. I doubt he will be here. "I can't remember all the stuff Midnight Sensei told us," Uraraka said, and scratched the back of her head. "It's all right. I can lend you my notes if you want to." Then I looked at Uraraka, who was slightly blushing. Well, this is a development. I was observing them while eating my sandwich when I noticed someone staring at me. It was Todoroki, who was seated in front of me. I gave him a smile and tilted my head. "Is something wrong?" I asked Todoroki, and because of that I gained the attention of Midoriya, Uraraka, and Ida, who were discussing something related to the lesson earlier. No, but I noticed something. "Did you have that bandage on your right arm and neck yesterday?" He pointed, and that was the time the others noticed it too. My eyes widened and unconsciously touched my right arm. I never removed my bandages when I went to school, so it would look like my injuries were still healing. It would look weird if my injuries suddenly healed in one day. "That's right, I was focused earlier about Hawks showing up that I forgot to ask you about those. Did something happen?" Midoriya was already aware the moment you entered the classroom. These? I got it when during my intern." "Well, you weren't lying that much." "Are interns that hard?" "I thought they would just give you paperwork since you were still recovering." Todoroki asked, who was still staring. "That's right. Isn't that the reason why you couldn't join the sports festival?" Uraraka said, and it was obvious she was worried. "I think he's also doubting me," I thought, and when I was about to answer, I sensed something coming from my back, and it was fast. Before it could reach the back of my head, I was able to catch it. Then I looked what it was, and it's a feather. You don't really lower your guard in. When you looked back, you saw Hawks, who was smiling, and he caught the attention of the people who were with me. Todoroki was staring at him. I guess he's confused why Hawks would attack me like that. "Stop playing around, we're in the cafeteria," I said, and he was already beside me. "I just wanted to have your attention," he laughed. Midoriya, Uraraka, and Ida were still shocked by what happened, and also about the 3 heroes presence. "I don't think pro heroes got a lot of time to be playing around," Todoroki said, and made Hawks stop laughing. "Well, that's what I want to accomplish. I want a place where heroes have too much time in their hand," he said, and looked back at me again. "I need to borrow her for a while," he said, and grabbed my elbow, but I shook it off. "I can walk by myself," I said, and looked at my classmates. "Sorry guys, I will be right back," I said, and they just nodded. Todoroki was still looking at Hawks. I followed Hawks, and we went to the hallway. There weren't any students there. "Is this so important that you can't wait for me to finish class?" I broke the silence, and he was leaning by the wall. "It looks like we need to move fast. They already know we're going tomorrow." He stared at me, and I raised one of my eyebrows. "How fast are we talking about? And how the hell did they know?" It was obvious I was angry. "We'll proceed with the plan tonight, so be prepared. I just gave you a heads up since I'm already here." Before I could ask anything, I felt a presence listening to us. I signaled Hawks to be quiet, and I removed the bandage on my right arm, and it was still bleeding slightly. I used my blood to attack the one hiding, and suddenly it exploded. It was now obvious who was listening, so I put my bandages on again, and I called him. "We know you're there already. Come out," I said, and Bakugo was there looking angry with both of his hands inside his pockets. "Are you planning on killing a student, you damn show-off?" he shouted and walked straight to us. I wasn't really planning on attacking him. I was just going to use it to threaten whoever was there. "Who's this? Your boyfriend?" "No," we shouted, and Hawks just shrugged his shoulders. "I'll just contact you. Play safe, you love birds," he said, and started walking away. I stared at Hawks, who was waving his hand. then looked at Bakugo, who was in front of me. "Why are you here?" "Who said I can't be here, huh?" he said and looked irritated. "You shouldn't be listening to conversations like that," I said, but he just clicked his tongue. We were silent for seconds, then he asked something. "You're not participating the sports festival not because you're injured. It's more like a statement, not a question." I calmed myself and just looked at him. "It doesn't concern you." I was about to walk away when he grabbed my wrist. "It does," he shouted, and I just stared at him. "Why?" I asked, but it looks like he was having a hard time speaking. "It's because I want to beat you." I don't know if he was just fooling around, but I just sighed. "Like I told you, I have no plan on being a he, then plan on being one." He cut me off and I was shocked. Why does he keep pushing his ideas in me? I shook his hand off, and before I could talk he said something. "I don't know why I keep meddling with you, but you keep getting through my head. I can't help but be curious about you. And I want to beat you," he said, and I gritted my teeth. "You keep annoying me. I already told you I don't want to be a hero. Stop pushing me to be one. I can't be one." Your words were now trembling, and you were staring down now. Then he suddenly pulled your shoulder, and you felt pain since you were injured, but you looked at him. "It's not like you can't be one. You're ignoring your own desire." He was staring straight to your eyes, and you can't even push him away. "It's not like you can't, but you're too focused on what he was saying. You keep looking at us when we were training. It's obvious you want to be one, but why do you keep avoiding it?" He was so serious, and you pushed him lightly, but he let me go. I started walking away, but I stopped and looked at him. "I'll be watching tomorrow. You should be top 1 inch," I said, and he just grinned. "The hell off course I would be," he said, and I just smiled and left him ____. "Then plan on being one." I remember his words while I was preparing for our mission. It was already night, and I'm wearing my hero suit. I started removing MG bandages, and there were no scars anymore. When I was ready to go, I just teleported myself in our meeting place, and Hawks is in front of me, and he was slightly shocked. "You really know how to scare someone." He smiled and suddenly looked at the back alley. "You sure they're still there?" I whispered and received a nod from him. "Yeah, I saw someone going inside bringing some boxes. We should proceed to the plan now." I nodded and looked in front. At the back alley there was a door there, and we received a info that the villains here are planning on joining the League of Villains. But they saw through our plan on attacking them tomorrow, so we went earlier. I started walking towards the door while Hawks is still hiding. Then I knocked. "Who the hell is it?" a guy shouted, then opened the door. I immediately scanned the area. There were a lot of people, and they were packing their things like they were about to leave. The man in front of me had his eyes wide and was about to shout when I stabbed his neck. "You're too noisy, go back to sleep." Then his body fell on the floor. "I knew you would make a grand entrance," I heard Hawks through the earpiece I was wearing. Because of the sound, the people inside looked at me, and I started walking inside and left the door open. "So do you know anything about the League of Villains?" I asked, but they started attacking me. I kept avoiding their attacks and have my hands behind me. One was about to stab me, and I held his wrist and pulled him, not giving me any answers. He was trying to get away, so I punched his stomach till he passed out. They kept attacking me, and others were using their quirk against me, but I just avoided it until I was in front of the door again. "Guess we'll just leave one conscious," I said, and like IQ I heard something coming. "Bye-bye," I said, then feathers started to appear behind me and attacked them one by one, just leaving them unconscious. Hawks appeared and slightly hit my head. "Take it easy," I just glared at him, and we walked towards the man who was conscious but injured. "Then will you answer our question?" I asked. I don't know anything," he said, but I just smiled. "Really? Then maybe I can make you remember." I formed a light dagger and put it on his neck. Then I would ask again, "What do you know about the League of Villains?" He trembled, but he started talking. There was someone who just asked us for informations, if we might know anyone who is interested. We were going to speak with someone right now, but why you came," he said, and I keep listening. "So in other words, you're just like a bunch of info breaker and found someone who might be interested?" "Why, yes. Someone hired us to spread the news about League of Villains wanting to expand their members. And we have found one." I looked at Hawks, who was beside me, and he nodded. Then can you tell us who was this person you were about to meet with? Hawks asked, but suddenly I felt something hot coming. Hawks, I shouted and grabbed his wrist and teleported us at the corner of the room. Someone attacked us with blue fire. Then we looked at the door when someone came in. Man, was I late? A man with scars everywhere showed up and looked around and suddenly fixed his eyes on us. Heroes, what are you doing here? He asked, then looked at the man who we were talking to. They suddenly appeared and went asking about the League of V villain. He explained to the man with blue fire. Well, I wasn't that sure yet if I was going to join since I don't know yet their true intentions. But man, this is some show you got here, he said and looked at us. And who might you be? I asked with a smirk on my face. Ha, I don't give out my name that easily, sweetie. Then I suddenly flew a light dagger and scratched his face. He was shocked how fast it was, and he looked at me with a smile. Still not planning on giving us a name, I asked. If you win this one, I might tell you. Let's see who's faster, that light and feathers of yours or my fire. Like a cue, he started burning us with his fire. But I teleported me and Hawks at the other side. As you know, my feathers would just burn. I have the disadvantage, he explained. That doesn't mean we can't win, I said with a smirk, and Hawks just chuckled. Well then, let me give you a hand. I warped in front of the villain to gain his attention, so that Hawks would be on the back line. Then he attacked me endlessly, but I keep on avoiding it by teleporting. You really are fast, aren't you? He said in mid of our fight. Willing to tell us your name and surrender now? I teleported behind him and struck a dagger at his back, making him lose a footing. Then he looked at me and attacked. You got me there, sweetie, but I can't surrender now. I kept attacking everywhere and I have pierced his back and arms, but he just kept removing them. Don't forget about me, Hawks said. Suddenly Hawks sliced his back with his feathers like a sword. The villain was too distracted with me that he didn't notice Hawks. We got him on the ground and Hawks was holding him still. Game over, I said, and knelt to look at him. Now you can explain yourself back at the police, I said, but the villain just laughed. If you don't get burned, that is. Then suddenly he put himself on fire and Hawks flew back, and I teleported elsewhere inside the room. Feathers aren't strong against fire, right? Then he shoot fire straight at Hawks. He already lose a lot of feathers due to our attack earlier. Instantly, I was in front of him. But before I could teleport, he burned my left arm slightly, but we were able to escape. Hawks shouted when he saw my burn. It wasn't that big, I can always heal it up, so I just smiled at him. Hey, so your name is huh? You still look like a student, the villain said casually, and I stood up and just smiled. I already know Hawks the no. 3 hero. Which side are you on actually? He asked Hawks. Where it benefits me, I guess. He answered, getting his feathers ready. The villain smiled and laughed. You two look strong. I guess it's worth giving my name. You can call me 𝗵𝗲𝗊. If this keeps up, I would reach my limit. I kept avoiding 𝗵𝗲𝗊's attacks, while Hawks tries to get close to slash him with his feathers. But the fire was too hot, it burns Hawks' feathers before it could reach him. I'm about to run out of feathers. Do you have a plan? Hawks shouted. He was across the room sweating hard due to the temperature in the room right now. After fighting with 𝗵𝗲𝗊, I learned his weakness. Sure, his fire is hot, but it also affects him. We have the upper hand if this fight lasts long. Then I sent daggers to 𝗵𝗲𝗊, and he just avoided it. Even though his fire is hot, he could not burn light. I already knew he would avoid it, and I made my move. I teleported to where he went and stabbed his arm. You're one hell of an opponent, he said, and sent his fire to me, but I teleported before it could touch me. You already knew what my weakness is, huh? This is too troublesome, he said while holding his injury. A little bit more, we could capture him and just make him spill all the information he know. I thought and was about to attack again when I saw a knife flying straight at me. Hawks shouted while he used his feathers to change the knife's direction. I back off a little, then look at Hawks. Thanks. My strength is slightly leaving me already since I used 2 quirks at the same time, light and analyze. I looked at where the knife came from, then a girl wearing a uniform showed up. Is this the right place? She said while holding a knife. This isn't a place you should be, little girl, 𝗵𝗲𝗊 said, but the girl just smiled. Want me to help you? These guys look like heroes. I don't mind slicing them. Slice them if you can, 𝗵𝗲𝗊 said, and looked at me again. I observed the surroundings. I can handle 𝗵𝗲𝗊 before I hit my limit, but I'm worried about Hawks. He already used half of his feathers, and another villain showed up. Should we retreat? I thought, but suddenly blue flames came straight at me. You have guts to think while facing me. I then teleported beside Hawks. Should we retreat now? I asked. I think that's the best option right now, he said, and I was about to touch him when one of the girls suddenly barged in front of me, making me step back. Hey, aren't you cute? Wanna be my friend? She said while swinging her knife. I don't make friends. Then I felt blue flames coming from my side, but Hawks used his feathers to absorb the impact. My name is Toga. What about you? She kept talking while I was avoiding her attacks. I need to distract them so we can retreat. Then I thought of an idea. Let me borrow this a sec. I caught the knife's blade and took it. My palm was bleeding, but I didn't mind. Without hesitation, I sliced my left arm, and Toga and 𝗬𝗲𝗍 looked at me in shock. Why, you look prettier with blood. Toga stared at me, mesmerized by my blood. Are you killing yourself before we could? 𝗬𝗲𝗍 asked, but I didn't answer. With the blood that was dripping right now, I used it and made tiny needle-like shapes and pointed it at them. I hope you're not scared of needles. Then I teleported beside to Hawks. You have 2 quirks? 𝗬𝗲𝗍 asked. Then I started to attack them. Well, we had fun, but we'll continue this next time, I said and teleported with Hawks. We are in front of Hero HQ when I felt my eyes were starting to blur and burn. You really can't end a mission without bleeding, huh? Hawks said. The room wasn't bright enough and it's only dawn. I can't absorb a lot of light to reflect to them. I have no choice, I said while holding my left arm, which is bleeding. I could end the fight earlier, but I needed them alive, plus Hawks was with me. I'm more like a solo player and a killing type, but with those conditions I needed to control the way I use my quirks. We started walking towards the Hero HQ. When they saw us, they led us to the clinic where we were healed. Is this all the information you got? They asked. We were already reporting our progress. Even with letting these villains go, we were able to learn things, but we need to be alert next time so we could capture them. It was already 10 when we finished our report, and I was already late for the sports festival. I need to go, I said to Hawks, but when I used my quirk my eyes got a bit blurry and made me lose my balance a little bit. Well, you sure you can go by yourself? He caught me and helped me stand still. Yeah, I was just a little tired. I can still use it. Contact me if you need anything, I said and concentrated to use my quirk. I was in front of the venue by the time I opened my eyes. I covered my eyes a bit since it started hurting. Someone called me. Then when I opened my eyes, it was Kirishima. Whoa, your eyes are going white. Are you okay? He asked, then came closer to me. I'm fine. I overused my quirk, that's all, I said. What is happening inside? I asked, then looked at the big screen. Man, you should have watched it from the start, it was amazing. He shouted, let's go inside, the whole class are watching. Then he led the way. We were on a break while they cleared up the stage. Todoroki used this large glacier attack on 𝗍𝗏, and they're still removing some. Oh, and it's the 3rd round now, he explained while we were walking. So it's the last round. It's a good thing I was able to watch the last part. We reached the place where Class 1 are sitting and Uraraka noticed me. You made it. What were you doing? She offered the 𝗍𝗏 beside her, and I saw 𝗵𝘃𝗀 looking at me, but avoided my eyes suddenly. I sat next to Uraraka, who was on my right, then 𝗵𝘃𝗀 was on the left side. Kirishima sat beside 𝗵𝘃𝗀, who was now looking in front. Sorry, something came up with the hero I was interning, I said while scratching the back of my head. Geez, they should give you a day off, Gyro said, who was behind me, but I just chuckled. Well, it was urgent. What's with your hand? I suddenly looked at 𝗵𝘃𝗀, who pointed at my hand that is bandaged. Man, look at her eyes, it's almost white. Kirishima added. You're not helping, Kirishima. I thought and looked at 𝗵𝘃𝗀, who was waiting for my answer. I just got injured a little bit and my eyes are just a after effect of overusing my quirk. I smiled at him, but he just clicked his tongue. Be careful, he whispered. I looked at him and laughed. Did I say something funny, huh? He shouted, but I was still laughing. I didn't expect that, I said, and he was still looking at me. But I will. I stopped laughing and smiled at him, but at this time it was real. Then I noticed his cheeks slightly became red. How the hell will you watch me become no one with those eyes? He avoided my eyes. My eyes will be back to normal, don't worry. I didn't really know if I could watch properly, but at least I'm here. Who is worried, huh? He shouted, and Kirishima tried to calm him down, and I just chuckled. The next battle started. It was Ibara Shiozaki versus Kaminari Denki, but it ended quickly since Denki's quirk backfired. While waiting for the next battle, Uraraka suddenly stood up. "I'll go to the waiting area now then," she said to Midoriya, who was beside her, and left. "Who is her opponent?" I looked at Bakugo. "It's me," he said without looking at me. My eyes widened but nodded as response. "This is a bad pairing. Even if I use my analyze, I can't think of any way for Uraraka to win, unless she could make Bakugo overuse his quirk." I thought the next match was now starting with Tenya Ida versus Hatsune Miku, but it looks like an advertising field. Ida were wearing one of Hatsune's inventions. It ended after 10 minutes when Hatsune felt satisfied for showing her inventions, then just left the bound. I don't really think I can call that a battle. I noticed that Bakugo was about to leave. "Well, I guess it's his turn. Don't lose, Spiky," I shouted, and he glared at me. "I don't need you to remind me. Don't call me Spiky." Then left, and I just chuckled. By the time he left, Todoroki sat next to me where Uraraka used to sit. "Congrats on winning the first round," I smiled at him. "It's no big deal. I didn't notice you were already here," he asked and scanned me. Before he could say anything, I interrupted him. Yeah, I had something to do and I overused my quirk. That's why my eyes are faded red right now," I explained before he could even ask. Then he just nodded. The matches went on and on until it was Bakugo's turn. When they were both on stage, even I was worried about what will happen to Uraraka. But I know one thing about this battle: Bakugo wouldn't go easy on anyone. It was hard watching this. Uraraka kept attacking, but as well as Bakugo, causing her to be flew backwards. I already know what she was planning, but I hope it works. For some reason, I found myself cheering both of them. Then suddenly the crowd began shouting at Bakugo, "Just push her off the bounds already. How could you continue attacking her like that? Is this what a future hero should be like?" They started booing at Bakugo, and I clenched my teeth. That's not it. My thoughts were cut off when Aizawa started talking. It is obvious that Bakugo recognized her as an equal opponent. That's why he didn't go easy on her. Just because she kept running straight at him doesn't mean she doesn't have a plan. If you were all paying attention, then you will know. What pro heroes would boo at a student recognizing the ability of his opponent? Then the dust cleared up, showing the result of Uraraka's hard work. "Thank you, Bakugo, for making this for me." Then she released the debris that were once in the air. She started running towards Bakugo as the rocks fell, but in an instant Bakugo cleared the rocks and sent Uraraka flying. I knew it. Bakugo can easily destroy them. I watched how Uraraka struggled to stand up, but she passed out, leaving Bakugo standing. Uraraka is unconscious. Bakugo is one who will proceed to the next round, Midnight announced. But still, this was a development. I know this will help Uraraka grow. Then my phone started vibrating. Someone was calling me, and it was Hawks. I excused myself and went somewhere at the back where there wasn't a lot of students. "What's up, miss me already?" I asked. "Want me to miss you?" He chuckled, but I just rolled my eyes as if he could see it. "I just want to inform you that this mission is postponed as of now. There's a bigger problem." I listened carefully to what he was saying. "There's a hero killer on the loose, and it has sent a hero in a critical condition earlier. I think I know who you're referring to. He never became my target before, so I didn't pay attention to his existence. But now it's coming back at me, huh?" I smirked and looked at the battle in front of me. "I can move by myself, right? Asking for permission, since doing the work myself will benefit me." "Well, we were just told to stay alert, but I think you can." With that, I smiled. "Okay, I'll handle it. Dead or alive?" Before he could answer, somebody caught my attention. "Oi, what the heck are you doing there?" Bakugo appeared. Well, he did finish his match, so maybe he just went back to watch the battle right now. "We prefer him to be alive. I'll send the other details about him. Enjoy the sports festival first, bye." I think Hawks heard Bakugo, that's why he ended the call. I putted away my phone and looked at Bakugo. "I was just talking to somebody. Congrats on winning." I cheered him, but he just growled at me and clicked his tongue before leaving me. I watched him walk away so he would sit where he sitted earlier. Then he saw Todoroki near him. He sneered and started growling at him like a dog, and I chuckled while watching him. It really is entertaining to watch Bakugo, I thought, but quickly I went back to reality. I shouldn't be this close with them. If they knew the real me, they would just be scared. They're not going to accept me. I stare at the backs of my classmates who were busy watching the ongoing match. It's my first time interacting with a lot of people around my age. Maybe that's why I felt like I was free, but I was just distracting myself from reality. Then I received a message which I quickly checked. It was from Hawks, containing the information about this hero killer. I scanned it while leaning on the wall, then my eyes widened when I saw who his victim was earlier. Ingenium, I whispered while reading what happened. He was currently confined, and in a critical condition like Hawk said. But this hero is Ida's brother. I stared at Ida's back, who was chatting with Midoriya. He looked happy as of now. I checked the information again, and it happened in Hosu. I took note of the location, and I felt someone grab my shoulder. "And I'm going now." Midoriya was suddenly beside me. It was his turn and Todoroki. I just nodded and he left. Following him was Todoroki, who just nodded at me, and I just smiled at him. I went back to my seat where Bakugo was staring at the venue with his arms crossed. I had the urge to talk to him, but I must remember what I really came for. So I faced in front, waiting for the next battle to start. Both from Class 1A, Midoriya Izuku versus Todoroki Shoto. Present, Mike shouted as the contestants entered the bounds. The battle was difficult, even I can't guess who'll win. Midoriya kept injuring himself as he deflected Todoroki's ices, and it was obvious that he has the upper hand here. During the battle, I noticed that they were arguing. It was painful to watch Midoriya use his injured arm, but I guess he had no choice since all his fingers were wrecked already. "Todoroki isn't even injured nor tired," Hagakure said, who was behind me. "Dude, why is he so strong?" Kirishima shouted, but Bakugo answered him, "Quirks are part of our body. It's obvious that we have limits, and Isahat isn't an exception," he said without even looking. He just kept watching the battle. "That's right, if they watch it closely you could see his ice also affects him. That's why his father went for a quirk marriage. To create a powerful hero that won't have limitations, but due to Endeavor's action Todoroki hated his other side. I read some from the informations they sent me, but half of it was based on my observation." My eyes widened when I saw Todoroki. He was using his flames. "Shoto, you have accepted me now, huh? Show them your strength," Endeavor shouted, gaining the attention of everyone in the arena. Todoroki didn't notice his father, but he charged to attack Midoriya, and even Midoriya was getting ready. They're not going to make it alive if this continues. The wind blew so hard and the area was filled with smoke, but Cementos and Midnight interfered with the battle. Once the fog disappeared, the winner was announced. "Midoriya is out of bounds. Todoroki will proceed to the finals," Present Mike announced. Once the medics took Midoriya, I saw some of our classmates standing up. "We'll try to visit him. How about you in?" Uraraka asked. "I'll just stay here and watch. Give him my regards," I smiled, and they nodded before leaving. I watched them leave while my smile faded. I need to interact less, but more importantly, I looked at Ida, who was getting ready. I need to look after him. He might do something troublesome. Time skip brought to you by your lazy author. Bakugo's final match with Todoroki didn't end well, I guess. He didn't accept it how he won against him without using both his quirks. Now the awarding ceremony was ongoing where they needed Bakugo chained up. "Not really hero like," I chuckled. "The sports festival has ended," and I was walking already to exit the arena when I saw Bakugo, who was still frustrated. Between choosing if I should go near him or not, I chose to leave him alone. This is for the best, and I don't think he will take my words happily. I clenched my hand, then walked away. Unconsciously, while I walked away, I thought of something. If I would be allowed, I want to be next to you in. It's good that you're healed already. Uraraka greeted me when I entered the classroom. I wasn't wearing any bandages anymore and my wounds are already healed, so I chose to remove them. "Sorry for worrying you guys," I smiled and flopped towards my seat. Right on time, Aizawa entered the classroom. "So first of all, congrats to our winners and participants. You did well, and because of that some of you have gained invitations from hero agencies." The list popped out the projector showing the rankings. "Todoroki has a lot more than Bakugo," Mina said. "Well, maybe he scared off the heroes," Minta said, and gained a glare from Bakugo. "No damn pro hero should be scared," he shouted, and I chuckled. Noticing me, he also glared at me and clicked his tongue. "Now settle down. I'll explain what we're doing for today." With that, all of them tensed up, maybe remembering what happened on our first day. "We'll be creating your hero names." Midnight suddenly appeared in front of the door, and all of them started shouting. "Hero name, huh?" I thought, since I never tried thinking of one since I won't be one. Lost in my thoughts, someone smacked me with a mini blackboard lightly. It was Bakugo, who was in front of me distributing the blackboards. "Pay attention, dumbass." I accepted it and passed the extra one behind me. I just smiled, but he didn't care. I just wasted the whole period by staring at my blackboard without even trying to write anything. "Are you okay?" Midoriya said, which made snapped out of my thoughts. Yeah." He just smiled and went back to his seat. "Guess," he presented his name. Then I noticed 𝗵𝘃𝐬 was the one who was going to present his hero name. King Explosion Murder, he shouted with confidence. I couldn't contain myself and laughed so hard even anyone inside the room laughed. Denied, think of something else, Midnight said, making 𝗵𝘃𝐬 infuriated, and went back to his seat. I was still laughing, and he glared at me. What's so funny, huh? Do you have a better name? I stopped laughing and stared at my so clean blackboard, and his hard expression softened a little bit when he saw me. Midnight called me in front, and I went there and showed mine. It's empty? She asked like it wasn't obvious. I don't need one, I declared without any expression. Confusion was written on the faces of everyone, but I didn't falter. I decided not to have one, and I will stick to it. But once you're a pro hero, is it all right that you'll be called by your name? Midnight asked. I saw Aizawa was awake beside her, also looking at me. If I'll be one, that is, I said, and went back to my seat. 𝗵𝘃𝐬 watched me walk towards my seat, but I didn't care. It's not like he was the only one. Midnight just sighed and called 𝗵𝘃𝐬 again to present the revised hero name he thought of. 𝗵𝘃𝐬 presented it once again with confidence. Lord Explosion Murder, he shouted, and everyone laughed, but I wasn't in the mood to join them. You should just call yourself Explosion Boy, Kaminari shouted, and 𝗵𝘃𝐬 started shouting at him. The class ended well, and we were in front of our shoe lockers when I heard Uraraka. Did Ida left already? I thought we were going to the station together. Midoriya was beside her, who was checking Ida's locker. Yeah, I guess something urgent came up. Before leaving, they waved goodbye at me and greeted them as well, but I didn't went home yet. Something's wrong, I thought, since all day I noticed how distant Ida was with his friends and how different his expression is. I went back and knocked at the teacher's faculty. Excuse me, can I talk to Aizawa? I asked when I saw a lot of pro hero there. Then Aizawa looked at me and sighed before standing up. What would you like to talk about? He asked when he closed the door. We were at the corridor talking. Can I ask where Ida will be taking his intern? I asked, which made Aizawa's eyes narrow. Why did you hear about something related to the hero agency he will intern with him? I shook my head. No, but I have a feeling it is near Hasu or in Hasu itself. Aizawa just sighed before answering. You're right, it's in Hasu. But you shouldn't do anything rash. You're still a student, he said, looking straight at me like he already knew what I would do. I'm more than a student. You should know that yourself, I smirked. But it's not like you have a choice. You needed to protect your classmate. It's already late, I should rest now, I said before he could lecture me any further. ____. Right now we were gathered at the train station carrying our briefcase containing our suits. Attendance was a must, so I appeared, even though I could just go there by myself. Doesn't that hero specialize in martial arts? Midoriya asked Uraraka, who was in front of him. Well, I thought I need to learn those stuff too, she answered, then looked at me. What about you, In? You didn't tell us anything about the agency you're interning with. I forgot I didn't told them anything, but I couldn't say where I've been going to. Isn't she interning with Hawks? I thought she was. Kirishima joined the conversation, who was walking towards us with Kaminari and 𝗵𝘃𝐬 beside him. Ah yes, that's it. I thought you knew already. I was saved, my Kirishima, and I thanked him in my thoughts. Then I noticed 𝗵𝘃𝐬, who was staring again at me, and I titled my head and smiled. Where would you intern with, Spiky? I asked. None of your business, he shouted and started walking out. The train was already here, and I noticed Ida, who was busy with his thoughts, when suddenly Midoriya called him. Ida, you know we're friends, right? If you have any problem you could always tell me, he said with a worried expression. Ida just smiled like nothing was wrong. Of course, and likewise. Take care of yourselves, see you guys next week, he said before leaving. There is something off, and I knew it. By the time all of them started boarding the train, I just teleported myself in front of Hero HQ and barged in. Once I was inside the office, I talked to the representative I always talked to. What seemed to be the problem, In? He asked with his hands on the desk. Seems like he was writing something, and his back leaning on the chair. I stood in front of him. Give me permission to patrol in Hasu, I said. He was silent for minutes like he was thinking before he answered me. I guess you'll take care of the hero killer. I nodded, then he continued. You're free to patrol there, but you must not be seen when you handle him. You're listed as a student of UA, so you should be careful. Plus, he must be alive. I clicked my tongue with all these conditions. I knew it was going to be hard to do things like I used to, but I have no choice, so I just agreed with the terms and left. It's already been days after I requested to patrol in Hasu. but nothing out of ordinary is happening. I'm patrolling right now, and it was already dark, but based on the information I gotten, he always attack heroes in dark alleys. So I didn't let my guard down and explored the alleys. But I heard a loud explosion that made me look back. What's happening? I thought and started running. And when I was in the main street, I saw people evacuating and fire everywhere. I run towards the direction where the people was, and I widened my eyes when I saw it. No miss. There were heroes who were taking care of it. But even with the number of heroes present, they couldn't take down a single Namu. I rushed towards the Namu who was attacking the heroes. Hey, you get out of here! The pro heroes shouted when they noticed me running straight towards the Namu, but I didn't pay attention to them. While running, I gathered light and attacked it with it. Somehow it made the Namu back off towards the hero who it was about to attack and looked at my direction. It ran straight at me with his claw ready to attack when I teleported behind it and stabbed a huge light formed like a cradle at it and sent a huge amount of light that made the Namu flying towards the building. It's weaker than the one we fought in 𝐬𝐻𝐸, I thought when I saw the Namu wasn't responding anymore. I looked at the pro heroes who was shocked how I finished the Namu in a short period of time. Evacuate the pedestrians. Is there another one of those? I asked while observing our surroundings. Yes, but 𝗲𝗏𝗃 is handling 2 of them. He responded, so 𝗲𝗏𝗃 is here. Then I checked my phone if there were any news about this when I noticed 𝗲𝗏𝗃 sent a location in our class group chat 10 minutes ago. What's this? It's a location somewhere in Hasu. Then I realized what it was. I hope I was wrong. But I started running while looking at the phone. Hey, it's too dangerous to run off like that. A pro hero shouted at me, but I didn't care and looked at the location. When I finished analyzing where this is, I teleported instantly where I was greeted by blades. Whoa, I shouted when I avoided the blades in front of me. I stepped back, and I heard a familiar voice. It was Todoroki, and behind him was Midoriya, Iida, and a pro hero. All of them were on the ground. I stepped back to meet with Todoroki. Another friend about to save your life, huh? It's troublesome, so I'll finish you all off. The hero killer was in front of us taking his katana and blades getting ready to attack. I don't think you're taking me seriously. I teleported behind him. But he quickly reacted by swinging his blade towards me, which made me back off a little. Don't let him slice you. His quirk can make you paralyze, even with a small scratch, Midoriya shouted. I know, I answered, then took my daggers on my waist and started countering his blades. We kept countering each other until his eyes widened, and he stopped a little, which gave me time to attack that sent him back a little. I think I know you. What are you doing with these hero wannabe students? He stared at me while holding his blades, but I just teleported beside him. Aren't I famous then? He clashed his blade with my dagger. But I gathered light behind him, which was supposed to be an ambush, but he was just scratched on the face a little. He received all those attacks and just had a scratched. I back off a little and teleported next to Todoroki, who's guarding the others. Are you okay? Todoroki asked, and I just nodded and looked at the hero killer who was grinning. To think I would meet the Reaper in this kind of situation. Who would have thought? He laughed, and I just held my daggers tightly and didn't answer him. Reaper? Todoroki and Midoriya asked and looked at me. Are you a student in UA now? But you don't fit to be a hero, aren't you? He said, and I gritted my teeth before running straight towards him. That's reckless, Todoroki shouted and stepped forward, but I shouted back. Don't interfere, which stopped him. The hero killer welcomed my attacks by countering them. Why? Don't your hero classmates know who you are? He shouted, and I kept attacking him. I backed off slightly, then sent light daggers towards him, which he avoided, but some actually did a damage. Shut up, I said, and without thinking I teleported beside him and was about to stab him, but he was quicker. His katana pierced my side, and I was trapped between him and the wall behind me. I thought the Ripper was calm. Did the thought of your classmates knowing who you are shaken you? And stabbed my right palm, locking it on the wall. Then fire started to approach him, and he backed off, releasing his sword that pierced me. I stood up and held my side, which was bleeding hard. Todoroki shouted, then the hero killer licked my blood on his blade, but I manipulated it and stabbed his tongue, which made him look at me, but he still got it and made me paralyzed. Still fighting, huh? I can't let you live since you're not fit as a hero. He was about to approach me when Todoroki used his flames that made him hard to get to me. Do you even know who you're protecting right now, UA students? He looked at them with a grin, but Todoroki was still on alert, ready to attack if ever. Aren't you even curious about her? This classmate of yours who is filled with mysteries. Do you even know who she is? I bet you won't be protecting her if you all knew. The hero killer said, and I was trying to move, but I still can't. I don't want them to know. I need to move. Please. I thought, still trying to move, then I heard someone shouting. We don't care, Todoroki and Midoriya shouted. Midoriya was already able to move and quickly went to my side to get me, and Todoroki kept the hero occupied with his flames and ice. Midoriya leaned me to the wall at their side and stood beside Todoroki. She might be secretive, and we don't know a lot from her, but she's still our friend, Midoriya shouted while getting ready to attack. Why? Why are they so kind to me? I thought, fighting my tears while watching them protect us. I bit my lips in frustration. All of you get back, I shouted, which startled them, but followed my instructions. I was able to move a little bit for me to be able to stand up. Maybe because of my blood manipulation quirk, and the fact that I'm a typo. I stood up and walked in front of Midoriya and Todoroki. Oh, you sure are as tough as they said, the hero killer said. But I didn't pay attention. Step back and you're bleeding too much, Todoroki said. But I still took my extra blade and sliced my left arm, without even showing any emotions, which made me bleed more, and they were shocked. You're losing too much blood already, Midoriya said, but I stretched my hand to my side, signaling them to not come forward. You really are the blood ripper, but this is taking way too long, so I'll end you all before pro heroes come. The hero killer was about to attack, when suddenly he stopped when he see what I have done. With all the blood I'm losing, I was sure I could pull it off. I usually used this all the time back then, but I couldn't risk showing the strength of this side of my quirk and its weakness. But this was an emergency, and I couldn't use light anymore since there wasn't anything I could absorb. The blood that was once dripping on the floor and was leaking out of me was now floating and formed as a giant scythe, which I took and hold with both my hands. I don't give a fuck about letting you live anymore. Everyone felt chills when they heard your voice so cold and your eyes so red, filled with excitement. The hero killer stepped back a bit, but without giving him a change, you were already beside him, sending him straight to the wall like he did to you earlier. He recovered and tried to counter your attack, but he was shocked how fast you were. Faster than how you were earlier. He jumped to invade your attack, but you teleported above him, and before he could process it, he was sent back straight to the ground. Now on the ground, you put your foot on his chest and pointed the scythe on his neck, looking straight at the unconscious man under you. Hey, that was too fast. Get up and fight me. You smiled, and eyes still red as blood, but he didn't respond. If you're staying like that, might as well let you enter an eternal slumber. About to slice his head off, somebody pulled you. Stop, and you shouldn't do it. It's already over. Calm down. Midoriya and Todoroki were trying to calm me down, but I felt my blood boiling, wanting more. I swung my scythe, which made them fall back, and I looked at their direction. I said, don't interfere. Shouldn't we just kill him already? He killed a lot of heroes already. Might as well pay for it with his life. I looked at them with my scythe on my back, but they just stared at me and acted cautious. Looking at them, I kinda snapped out. It's all right now. We need to get you to the hospital, so calm down, Todoroki said, while slowly walking towards me. I stared at how they look. They're also afraid of me. My smile faded, and my scythe was now turned back to liquid that rained above me, leaving me drenched with my own blood. Take care of him. I walked past them when Midoriya suddenly pulled my wrist. Where are you going? Stay with us. You're not in a condition to continue walking anymore, he said. You shouldn't be worried about me. Just leave me alone. I slapped his hand, making him let me go, but the moment I took a step forward, I felt myself falling. I reached my limit, I thought, till my vision went completely black. Midoriya's paw suddenly fainted, but I was fast enough to catch her before she hit the ground. Todoroki, we need something to bind the hero killer just in case. I asked Todoroki, who nodded and found a rope somewhere. Ida and the pro hero were already able to stand up. Ida was badly injured, but In's condition were worse than his. The pro hero aided me in carrying her, since I myself were starting to feel the injuries all over my body. Sorry for letting you carry her for us, I said to the pro hero, but he just shook his head. I should be the one who must apologize. I didn't help at all. We were already outside the alley, and there were pro heroes waiting for us. Isn't this the address Endeavor gave us? And looked at us and saw how badly injured some of our friends were. We need to get these kids to the hospital. One pro hero approached us, then saw the hero killer behind, raped with rope and unconscious. Isn't that the hero killer? The one asked, but we just nodded, and they called for reinforcements when suddenly Endeavor appeared, and a flying Namu went straight to us and grabbed me. Midoriya. I heard them scream, but I wasn't able to move since my injuries started aching, and I used my last strength when I faced off with the hero killer. It was too fast to process, but all I knew was the hero killer broke the ropes resisting him and licked the blood of the 𝗚 that he left before grabbing me, causing the 𝗚 to become paralyzed. This world doesn't need heroes who aren't worthy enough. He stabbed the 𝗚, and I was also on the floor, while he started walking straight towards the pro heroes. His mask has fallen off, which made everyone paralyzed due to fear. He kept talking about his ambition and hatred towards this world filled of heroes. His aura was too much. It can even make the pro hero feel fear. But he suddenly stopped walking. By the time they checked him, he was unconscious. We were already inside the hospital since we needed to be treated as soon as possible. I'd gone through a surgery because the stab on his wrist was deep, and In also went to surgery due to her side and palm being stabbed, and the slash she gave herself was too deep. But they were already in a stable condition. We were all in the same room, and In hasn't gained consciousness unlike 𝐸𝐸. Guys, I want to apologize. 𝐸𝐸 broke the silence in the room and gained the attention of me and Todoroki. I shouldn't have acted based on my feelings and waited for the authorities to capture the hero killer. Because of me, you were all in danger. I failed as a class rep, he said while looking down. It was obvious he regretted what he did. At least you know you were wrong. We were shocked when someone answered him. As an aspiring pro hero, you should always follow the law. Don't lose sight of your dreams due to the desire of revenge. In was already awake, and she sitted on the side of her bed. She looked at 𝐸𝐸 with a weak smile. Her eyes were now slightly white, unlike last night. In, you shouldn't move too much, Todoroki said. But she didn't pay attention and still tried to sit. Heroes doesn't take lives of others and shouldn't take revenge. You should stay on your path. As long as you know your goal, you'll be fine, she continued. But I noticed how sad she were while saying those. 𝐸𝐸 stared at her, and his eyes were teary, but was able to answer. Thank you. I will, and I am sorry, everyone. I smiled, and even Todoroki was, but something was bothering me, so I talked to In. In, can I ask something? I asked, making her look my way, and she just smiled to approve. What? Was the hero killer saying about you being a reaper? I don't know if I'm crossing my boundaries, but I just can't let it go. We understand if you wouldn't say anything, but the name was also familiar with me. Todoroki joined the conversation, and In was just staring at us before she sighed and smiled. It's a title I got before entering UA. She said, so it's true she was the Reaper? I continued listening. It's also a proof that I can't be heroes like you guys, she said without any emotions. I can't understand what she was feeling, but before we could push the topic any further, someone went inside. It looks like you're all awake. It looks like the police. Gran Torino and the hero 𝐸𝐸 was interning was with them. I learned what you young heroes have done. You were able to capture the hero killer by yourselves. But even if you did a great deed doesn't mean you didn't violate a law. My eyes widened at what he was saying. What do you mean? Todoroki asked, and was already standing. There are laws we need to abide to. These laws are made so our world wouldn't be in chaos since it's filled with quirks. You guys are still students and aren't pro heroes. Because of that, you broke a law Tot could sentence you guys to jail, he said. You bastard. I stopped Todoroki before he could charge straight at him. Now let's finish what he was about to say now. I tried to calm Todoroki. But as a citizen, I am grateful for what you have done. That's why we could turn a blind eye. You would only be punished if this were to grab the media's attention, but we could let 𝗓𝗏 get the credit. What do you say? He asked, and Todoroki calmed down inside. You should have said it in the first place, he said, and we chuckled until the officer looked at In. But you're a different case, In, he said, and everyone went silent again. With all the cases piled up against you, we could have get you arrested, he said, which made our eyes widen. What cases were they talking about? But she didn't sweat a little bit, she just smiled at them. Well, what are you waiting for? She taunted them, even putting her hands on the air, and the officer just narrowed his eyes and sighed. If it weren't for your higher-ups, you could have been in jail already sentenced. You should thank them, he said, and the tension in the room disappeared. In just shrugged her shoulders as a response. They left after we were scolded by the heroes we interned with, and Gran Torino was really mad about my actions, and I just asked forgiveness. We were left alone again, and 𝐸𝐸 broke the silence. You know, the doctor told me my hand might never recover like it used to. I unconsciously hold my arm, which was also considered fragile. What about you, In? You were stabbed too, 𝐸𝐸 asked, and we looked at her. Well, it would be fine, I guess. she said like it wasn't a problem at all until Todoroki spoke. Sorry. And we all looked at him. Whenever I am involved, someone's hand always gets broken. Hey, it's not your fault, Todoroki, I said, and even Ida agreed. I think I have a curse. I'm a hand crusher, I guess. With that, all of us laughed, even In. What? I didn't know you can joke. In was laughing so hard, but Todoroki was serious. I am sorry, I need to break this curse. We kept laughing at what Todoroki was saying, and we forgot to ask In about her until we were all discharged. ___In's Pavid has been days after the incident in Hasu happened. We were already inside the class since intern week is already finished. I couldn't forget how I passed out last time. Every time I use that technique, I always immediately teleport to my base, since using that really takes my strength away, and also blood, making me lightheaded. The room was noisy since they were discussing about what they learned during their intern until Bakugo came inside. Bakubro, what happened? Kirishima was the first to greet his friend with a new hairstyle, and everyone were laughing. Even with a neat hair, your expression still doesn't change. Kaminari mocked him and continued laughing. That damn hero made my hair like this, and I can't even wash it off, he said, and even I laughed at him. You look cute with that hairstyle, Kaken, I shouted, and he looked at my direction with slightly red cheeks. Who are you calling cute? He shouted, and his hair kinda exploded and returned back to normal. It turned back. All of us were laughing until I felt someone pointing at me. But don't you think the ones who had it rough were those 4 ribbit? She pointed at us. Yeah man, we heard the news. Good thing Endeavor came and helped, Kirishima said, and all of them were silent. I guess it's because we can't say anything about that incident, so I just smiled, and I heard Bakugo clicked his tongue when he sat in front of me. You keep running towards danger, he said. Hey, are you worried about me again, Kaken? Immediately he looked behind with slightly red cheeks. I chuckled at the sight. Who the hell would be worried, and what again? He shouted, and I continued laughing until Aizawa entered the room and started discussing. It was already hero course subject already, and we were in our hero costume outside the playing ground Gamma. All Might was discussing what we were about to do when Ada raised his hand. Shouldn't be the rescue trainings be conducted in 𝐬𝐡𝐢? All Might explained that we're going to do a rescue training when we came here. You're right, but what we're about to do is race. You all will be divided in 2 groups, and the first one to reach me wins. The rules were simple. He started dividing us into 2 groups, and I was placed at the second one. We watched the first group prepare, and I heard some betting who will win. I didn't listen much since I was analyzing myself who would win. When All Might sent his go signal, everyone started running. But what caught my eye is Midoriya's new technique. Isn't that move looks like Bakugo's? Someone pointed out. I looked at Bakugo, and it was obvious how irritated he was. Maybe learning that the gap is starting to close between them made him furious. Midoriya was jumping, and it was surprising how he isn't injured. But if I were to think about the incident in Hose, he was really fast like that. Maybe his days of interning really paid off. But suddenly, he slipped, which made me sweat a little. Well, it's too early to say he mastered it, I thought while looking who won the race. It was Zero, but obviously the field was made for someone who has a quirk like him. All Might now made us prepare. But to be honest, I wasn't that hyped about this training since I can surely win it with just teleporting endlessly until I find All Might. Then I noticed someone staring at me, and it was Bakugo. What's wrong, Kaken? I asked and smiled in a way that he would be annoyed, and it did annoy him. Don't fucking go easy on me. He glared at me. Well, I'm not competing with only you, 𝐀𝐦. I teased him, and he just growled at me, which made me chuckle. But suddenly I heard the go signal and started teleporting. I could even hear my classmates being amazed how fast I was. I won't let you go first, dumbass. I heard Bakugo, who was using his hands to kinda fly. He was already behind me. Maybe the determination to win against me made him like that. Well then, let's see. I teleported to the next building, but by the time I was about to feel the flooring, I felt something ripped through me. I looked at below and saw my side was bleeding again, and before I could process it, I coughed blood, which made me stop teleporting. I could even hear my classmates who were watching, but for some reason I couldn't move, and it felt like my body was tearing apart from the inside. I kneeled and held my stomach with one hand and the other with on my head. It felt like I was being teared apart, and I needed to hold on or else I will fall apart. When I tried to stand up, I just lose my balance and started falling. But I couldn't do anything since I can't use my quirk. The pain was too unbearable. Before I could hit the ground, someone caught me. Oi, what's wrong? Why are you bleeding? Bakugo was panicking, but I couldn't answer. It hurts. It really hurts," I shouted, and while carrying me he put his hand on the back of my head so I would lean on his chest. "Damn it, I know it does. Just bear with it a little, I'll take you to Recovery Girl." He comforted me. It was an unusual feeling, but I liked it. He was warm. "Oh okay, this time I'll be beside you, so deal with it, dumbass, 𝗳𝗲𝗳𝗲𝗳𝗲." 𝐬𝐴 I carried in on my arms while I ran back, abandoning the rescue training. This is the real 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐭 rescue mission. She was just teleporting as usual, and as I watched her getting far, suddenly I noticed blood dripping from her and how she screamed and kneeled due to pain. I don't know how she became like that, but the only thing I can do for her is take her to Recovery Girl. I looked at the unconscious in my arms, and the bleeding still wasn't stopping. It looks like a wound opened or something. I passed by the waiting area where the first group was staying and watching the race in the huge monitor. "What happened to her?" Deku was the first to question me. "Go tell All Might about this, you damn extras," I shouted without even stopping or looking at them. I didn't wait for a response and continued to rush towards the clinic. We were already inside the building when I noticed slashes suddenly appeared on her arms and started to bleed too. I clicked my tongue in frustration. What the fuck is going on? I thought as I reached the clinic, where Recovery Girl was shocked when I brought a student dripping with her own blood. "What happened to her?" Recovery Girl asked as I placed her down on the bed. "We're in the middle of a rescue mission with All Might when she just suddenly bleed out of nowhere," I explained, and Recovery Girl tried to fasten her repairing cells. But as the slashes were about to be closed, another one showed up. "What's happening?" I asked as I watched how Recovery Girl's treatment wasn't working. Recovery Girl observed her a little before starting to speak. "Call Eraserhead." I didn't ask for her reason, but I started running towards the door when it opened before I could even hold the knob. Like a cue, Aizawa was already here, panting like he ran as soon as he heard what happened. Maybe the damn extras told him. He just passed by me and went directly at 𝐸, who was still unconscious, but sweating so hard. Aizawa used his quirk on her, and then Recovery Girl tried healing her again. I watched how her slashes were now closing for good and her breathing was now stable. Aizawa stopped using his quirk and looked at Recovery Girl. "How's her condition?" he asked as he put eye drops on his eyes. "It's stable as of now, but I think this was one of the side effects she was telling us," she said, and I thought, what side effects? What's happening? I said, since I think they have forgotten about my presence. Aizawa looked at me to answer. "Go back to class, let us handle this." I clenched my fist as a response. "I'm just asking what the hell was happening." I was furious by the fact that they were keeping this from us, even though the whole class already saw what happened. "I don't think she would like it if we were the ones to tell you." My expression softened a little, since I kind of felt like she wouldn't want that. I clenched my teeth before turning my back at them and started walking. I still couldn't understand how she was able to keep this up before she started going to 𝐸𝐴. Was the last line I heard coming from Recovery Girl before I closed the door and went to the locker to change to my uniform, since hero lessons already finished. By the time I entered the classroom, everybody looked at me before starting to raise their questions. "Bakubro, what happened? 𝐸𝐴 isn't in with you. How did 𝐸 got injured that bad?" "Everyone stay calm, we need to be composed at a time like this," Four Eyes shouted, but it looks like he was aching to question me too. "Shut the hell up. She's in the clinic with Recovery Girl and Aizawa, and I don't know what happened, so shut up before I kill you all," I shouted, and everyone was sweating and nodded. I sighed and went to my seat when Kirishima tapped me. "You really don't know what happened, bro? That was a terrifying sight. It's like what happened in 𝐴SG," he said, and I just clicked my tongue. "They didn't explain anything. So stop asking, shithead," I said, and I thought I would understand her better now, but she is full of mysteries that I can't even crack open. I don't really understand, but I felt uneasy every time she was running off by her own. It looks like she didn't care if she would survive or something, like nothing was holding her to prevent herself to be killed, and I was frustrated how I can't do anything. Even though I told her to open up, she still wasn't telling anything to me. "Stop making me worry, 𝐸." I woke up finding myself in the clinic. I looked at the window and saw it was already dawn. Aizawa and Recovery Girl were with me. By the time they noticed I moved, they looked at me. "How do you feel?" Aizawa asked as I sat up straight and looked at my clothes, which were still drenched by my blood, but was all dried up. "I feel like SHT, I responded as I tried to stand up. But Aizawa put his hand on my shoulder, letting me stay there. "Recovery Girl has some questions for you before you go," he said, and I shrugged my shoulders and decided to stay. Aizawa let me go and leaned on the wall near me. While healing you, I noticed your regeneration quirk does boost your recovery. But I guess it can't help at all when your quirks go berserk. Having too much quirks in your body and not being able to control it is dangerous. How did you kept up with this all these years? She asked, looking worried. Using them too much really stir up my body since originally there wasn't that many quirks inside me, so time by time it will go crazy like this. But I just let it happen since it will stop at some point, and the regeneration quirk will kick in healing me again, so in short, I just accept and wait for the pain to stop, I explained, and Recovery Girl was still frowning. Well, it does sound bizarre, but it was one of my weaknesses. If I were to use different quirks, it will slowly stir up my body until the quirks itself can't recognize me, letting me self-destruct in a period of time. I don't recommend letting you stay this way. You must master these quirks while you stay in UA. I don't want to see you all the time in here, Recovery Girl said. Don't worry, I'll look after her. I'll help her control her quirks while she's under my supervision, Aizawa said while looking at me. Sorry for all the trouble, I said, and looked down. I was kind of feeling flustered for apologizing. I glanced at Aizawa, who was shocked at my action. But he sighed, then put his hand on my head. You're really one hell of a student, he said, remembering the first time we met. I was embarrassed and shook his hand. I stood up to walk away. Well, I'll go back to the dorm already. I can't bear wearing this suit filled with blood anymore. I pointed at the fact that I was still wearing my hero suit that was stained with blood. I heard Recovery Girl chuckled before I left. By the time I got back, I took a shower and changed my clothes. When I was already lying on my bed, I suddenly remembered what happened during the training earlier. I lost my balance, and before I could hit the floor, Bakugo caught me. I felt my cheeks getting red this time. I'll be beside you, so deal with it, dumbass. I remembered his words before passing out. What the hell does he mean? I felt embarrassed at the fact he had to carry me for the second time. Uraraka told me that during the 𝐬𝐡𝐢 incident, Bakugo was the one who carried me, but to think he will do it again. I felt my cheeks getting hotter. Why the hell am I acting like this? I thought while rolling over my bed. As usual, by the time I arrived at the classroom, they ran straight at me with questions. But I just laughed and said sorry for making them worried. It's not like I can tell them about my situation. I don't think they'll accept me. By the time I walked towards my seat, I saw Bakugo watching me as I walked unconsciously. When our eyes met, I looked at the other way. It was obvious I was avoiding him, and I heard him growl. What was that for? He stood up his seat and shouted, but for some reason I can't look at him, and just sat on my seat, not bothering to look at him, and he was furious, and I built up my courage to talk. 𝐻𝐸, I whispered, speak up, I can't hear you. Are you trying to start a fight? Then I got irritated and looked at him. He was 𝐹 dumb. I said, 𝐻𝐸, are you 𝐹 deaf? I shouted, is that how you say 𝐻𝐸? Then we started arguing until Aizawa walked in, making us stop. I wasn't listening to what they were discussing since I was busy staring outside the window, watching the clouds move and how free the birds were flying without any thought of destination. I was mesmerized by the view when suddenly the shouts within the classroom caught my attention. I looked at them, and they looked like they saw a ghost or something. So get ready by that time. You're all dismissed. Wait for your next class, Aizawa said before leaving. I didn't even get what he was saying. I looked around to ask someone, but they were all busy when I saw Todoroki, who is seated beside me, staring. Oh, what was he talking about? I asked, and Todoroki explained that we were about to have a 3-day written exam and a hero course practical test after. It was said that if we were to pass all of it, we will be able to participate in the upcoming training camp. I just nodded and thanked him for explaining it to me when I noticed Bakugo looking at us. And you asked if I were deaf when you didn't fucking understand anything earlier. He sneered at me. I wasn't paying attention, I honestly said, but he was still staring back at me and Todoroki. You could have just asked me, dumbass, he said before looking at front again. Geez, I can't understand him at all. Class was finally over, and I heard some commotions asking Momo to teach them, which he completely obliged. She even looks happy to accept the offer. Then I realized something. Wait. Exams. I'm bad at math. I thought. I slightly panicked, but I concealed it and tried to stay calm, thinking who was the best in math. Well, Momo is good, but she already has 5 students she were gonna teach. I looked at Midoriya and was about to ask him when I heard Kirishima. Bakubro, aren't you good at math? Could you teach me? He said, and Bakugo just stared at him. Like hell, I'll teach you. You can do it on your own, he shouted and took his bag before leaving. When I suddenly thought to ask Bakugo, well, he did told me earlier that I can ask him. I guess this is considered as asking right. I took my bag and said goodbye to Uraraka and the others before following 𝗵𝘃𝐬. He was fast, but I was able to catch up without even using my quirk. I tapped his shoulder, then walked beside him. He was shocked at first, but then he returned back at glaring at me. "What the hell do you want, Nightlight?" he asked in the most kindest way he can, I think, and I chuckled. "Well, you said I can ask you earlier, right?" I said, which made one of his eyebrows raise. So I was thinking, maybe you can teach me math? I tried using my most pretty eyes as I stare at him, but he was just staring at me with his annoyed eyes. "P, please?" I tried saying, then he just chuckled, which gave me a shock. He looked cute when he did that, and it kinda made my cheeks slightly red. To think someone like you would say shit. "All right, follow me." Then he started walking. When I got back to my senses, I followed him and stayed by his side, and I looked at him with a smile, and when he noticed it, he shot me a glare. "The fuck? What's wrong with your face?" he said. "You look a lot cuter with a smile, don't you think?" I leaned a little bit and put my index finger on both sides of my mouth, telling him to smile, but he just got angry and started walking faster. I chuckled and followed him. I didn't really understand, but I can act normal around him. I can get angry, sad, frustrated, and he wouldn't mind. It was shocking how he can tell whether I was faking it. Little by little, I didn't know that I was starting to soften around him. Suddenly, we stopped in front of a house. I looked at the sign and it says 𝗵𝘃𝐬, so this is where he lived, I thought, and he took his keys and opened the door. Looking at the entrance, it looks like he doesn't live alone, and my statement was proven when I heard someone. "Is that you, useless son? Can't you even text back?" Someone was shouting. "I was busy, stupid hag," 𝗵𝘃𝐬 shouted back. "What's wrong with this household?" Then I saw someone coming to us. By the way she looked like and dressed, I think this was 𝗵𝘃𝐬's mother. They had the same hair color and even the look. "Try saying that again in front of me." She pounded his hand on 𝗵𝘃𝐬's head, and I was shocked. Then when she noticed my presence, her mood suddenly changed. "Oh, we have a guest. Why didn't you tell me?" She sounded sweet when talking to me, but then it came back when she was talking to 𝗵𝘃𝐬 while she holds his hair. "It was unexpected, old hag," he said, but only received a hard slap on the back. "You still should have texted me." But 𝗵𝘃𝐬 just clicked his tongue. "Well, look at how cute she is. To think my idiot son would bring a cute girl. Is the world ending?" she said, and I just smiled at her. "Mrs. 𝗵𝘃𝐬, sorry for the sudden visit. I asked Katsuki to teach me math since finals were coming. I realized everyone here was a 𝗵𝘃𝐬, so I called him by his first name, and 𝗵𝘃𝐬 was shocked when I called him, and there was a slight blush on his face. "Oh, how polite. You should marry my son," she shouted, leaving me off guard. I didn't know how to reek, but 𝗵𝘃𝐬 somehow talked. "What are you talking about, old hag? She polite? No way. Just leave us alone, we're about to start studying," he said, and took my wrist and started dragging me. I just looked at his mother and bowed my head before letting 𝗵𝘃𝐬 drag me somewhere. We stopped in front of a door, and when he opened it, I already knew it was his room. He put his bag on the corner and took his notes and started to walk towards his study table. "What are you staring there for? Come inside or else I won't teach you," he shouted, and I started going inside. It felt somehow odd that I'm inside his room. I took the extra chair and sat beside him, and he started scanning his notes. "Well then, what the fuck don't you understand?" He showed me his notes and asked me what topic. Then I picked the topic I didn't understand. Well, I'm kinda slow when it comes at math since I didn't truly needed it before I started going to UA. "Ha! This is easy. What the hell were you doing during class?" He stared at me like he couldn't believe how dumb I was, but I just frowned and thought of a comeback. "Well, I was looking at your back. I can't help it." I smirked while leaning my head on the palm of my hand. I gained a blush and smirk from him. He really is cute, I thought. Then we started studying. The topic was hard, but 𝗵𝘃𝐬 was a good teacher. He even explains TBE shortcuts he used, and he wouldn't skip a topic if I can't understand it well yet. But what really caught my eye is how serious yet calm he is when teaching me. It doesn't look like him at all. I stared at him while he was discussing when he suddenly stopped and frowned his eyebrows at me. "What are you looking at?" "I don't have notes written on my face," he said, but I shook my head. "I didn't know you can be calm sometimes." I smiled at him. "Of course I can." And there he was back at his usual look. I just looked at the notes again and started asking questions, and we were back at studying. We didn't notice the time, but when I looked at the window, it was already night, and 𝗵𝘃𝐬's mother started shouting. "Katsuki, it's dinner time. Bring your girlfriend," she shouted. "Shut up, and she's not my girlfriend." He was flustered due to his mother's words, and we started going down to meet her in the dining area, and there was a lot of food on the table. "I haven't asked your name yet, dear." She talked to me when I seated in front of Katsuki. I'm in. We are on the same class, and I also see her behind him, I said and smiled at her. Oh, to think you sit behind him. Does my idiot son bother you? She asked, and I looked at 𝗵𝘃𝐬 who was glaring at his mother. Well, I kinda like sitting behind him, I said, which made his mother smile at me. Oh dear, call me Mitsuki. Please take care of my idiot son, she said like she's giving away his own son. 𝗵𝘃𝐬 was quiet the whole time, maybe surpassing how irritated he is that his mom kept asking questions. But I enjoyed my stay since it's been a while since I had company when eating dinner and the atmosphere was comfortable. We finished dinner, and I helped by getting the dishes on the table when 𝗵𝘃𝐬 took it from my hands. Stop moving, and let me do it, dumbass, he said while cleaning the table. It looks so unusual to see him do things like these. I stared at him while he put the dishes on the sink and talked to his mother. I saw Mitsuki nodded, then 𝗵𝘃𝐬 walked towards me. It's late, I'll walk you home, he said. But I wasn't sure if he should walk me home since I'm literally like living in 𝐬𝐬. However, I don't know if I should just use my quirk to go home since I need to prevent using it after experiencing the side effect yesterday. I think I can manage. I was about to grab my bag and leave when he held my wrist, making me turn to his way. The old hag would kill me if I let a girl go home on her own, he said, and pointing at his mother who was looking at us. Okay then, thank you Mitsuki for the dinner. I waved at her. Stop by any time in. You're always welcome, she smiled, and before we went out I grabbed 𝗵𝘃𝐬's ID, which was hanging on the rack near the doorway, but he didn't notice. I started walking and 𝗵𝘃𝐬 was just following me. Are you sure you'll walk me? I asked again, and he just stared at me. What's the problem? Is your neighborhood full of gangsters? I'll blast them off, he said, but I just nodded. Well, he'll just question me when we arrive. And by the time we arrived in front of the school's gate, I threw 𝗵𝘃𝐬's ID at him, which he caught and looked at me with confusion written on his face. Well, this is where I live, I said, and 𝗵𝘃𝐬 followed me until we reached the dorm, which was not finished yet. The fuck are you doing living inside the school? He asked. Well, who wouldn't be surprised, right? I don't have a family like yours, and due to something I found myself living in 𝐬𝐬 under the authorities of the school, I said while entering the dorm, and he was following me. I can go inside on my own, you know. I chuckled, but he stayed silent. What are you hiding? He asked by the time I was already in front of my door. Well, I don't hide anything inside my room if you're curious. I know you're not fucking dumb to not understand what I'm asking. He cut me off and was staring at me seriously. My smile faded and started talking. And I know you're smart enough to know I won't tell you. He looked irritated and slammed the wall, trapping me, but I didn't falter. I was still staring at him. Going to 𝐬𝐬 now, wanting to be a hero, always active during dangerous times and suddenly bleeding out of nowhere. I won't be always there to help you, so at least tell me what the fuck is going on. He was frustrated by the fact he doesn't know anything about you, and that he can't understand himself why he keeps wanting to learn and help you. What is it for you anyway? Knowing who I am won't help you in being the no one hero. Why do you keep concerning yourself with me? I asked, since it was so weird why he kept trying to understand me. I don't know, damn it. He looked torn. But all I know is I want to learn more about you, so just fucking talk to me. You told me maybe next time, but when is it? I looked at his eyes, but I can't determine what he was feeling. He looked so angry yet sad. I'm too afraid to reveal everything to anyone. I am already contented with what I have now. Somehow I was blessed with teachers who treat me well, even though you keep pushing them, and classmates who became my friends without my permission. But deep inside I appreciate all of it. I just don't want to lose anything anymore. I leaned my head on 𝗵𝘃𝐬's shoulder while his hand was still on the wall. I can't. Not yet. I'm still afraid what will happen if you were to know. I whispered, but I knew he could hear it since the hallway was quiet, and I was still leaning on him. I'll accept anything you say. I just don't like it when you run off by yourself. Hide important stuff from me. I hate it, and I don't know why, he said. But I can't tell what he looked like since he placed his other hand on the back of my head, preventing me to look at him. I'll tell you when the time comes. So please don't keep on asking me, I said, and I just heard him sigh. You better tell me, dumbass, or else I'll stick to you like glue until you spit it out. I laughed, and I was able to look at his face, and he just looked serious. I don't understand either, but I love his warmth. You feel so warm, 𝐀𝐦, I chuckled, and he kinda turned slight red and looked the other way. What you expect, it's part of my quirk, he said, and I smiled at him and opened my door. Thank 𝐀𝐦 for walking me home. I hope you won't tell anyone I live here, I said before entering. You think I'm like alien girl who loved to gossip? Of course I wouldn't tell Nightlight, he said, and I just stared at him. I feel like I was about to miss him already, even though we'll meet each other tomorrow. Unconsciously, I stepped out of my room again and hugged him. Be careful on your way home. See you tomorrow. Then I went inside my room, leaving him shocked and his mouth open. By the time I went inside my room, I leaned on the door and processed what just happened. I put both my hands on my face, feeling how hot it was right now. Why did I just do that? I thought, and was kinda panicking. Would he think I was weird? Not like he wasn't already aware of it, but still. My thoughts were now all over the place, and I still can't believe I hug him like that. Maybe he will consider it as a farewell. Whatever. I'll just deal with it tomorrow.